This is Atomic Shinobi, and today I'm going to narrate third part of What If Naruto Becomes Heir of a Duke Wolf. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share and subscribe to this channel. Now wasting no time, let's start the story.
Naruto had quickly left the training ground in search of Satsuki and Hinata after meeting Yugo and learning that they would be traveling to Takumi village to get him a new sword. Wanting to let them know where he was going and that he was probably going to be gone for a while in the coming days. Fortunately, the Uzumaki quickly located both of his teammates. Prior to the three of them approaching one another, the girls had also noticed him. Wondering how their training with Kabuto was going and if they had learned anything so far, Naruto said, "Hey, how was it at the hospital?" Hinata grinned and said, "It went well so far. We only trained the fundamentals and learned about the responsibilities of being medic." Nin. She was excited to learn more medical ninjutsu because she knew it would be helpful for her Byakugan. Satsuki continued, still not liking that she had to wait to start learning medical ninjutsu but happy with the scrolls she found in her clan's compound to train in. "I wasn't able to learn much, though. I still need to work on my chakra control before I can start practicing medical ninjutsu." As the three started to walk together, Naruto said, "That's good, and I'm sure you'll be able to get your chakra control good enough soon." Satsuki. "Did anything else happen?" Satsuki hummingly said, "We did meet Kurenai, the Jonin sensei of Team 8, and they've even completed their own C-rank mission. Sakura's also begun learning genjutsu from Kurenai, since she already has near-perfect chakra control. Kurenai and I also spent some time together, since she was my caretaker during my time in the academy. I told her about our last mission and was really impressed at what we were able to do, and relieved that we all made it back safely. She also was interested in everything you did, Naruto-kun. Even being interested to meet you," said Hinata, causing Naruto to respond with brow furrowed. "Not really used to people wanting to meet him or have anything to do with him at all," Naruto said, "I'll keep that in mind." He assumed, though, that if Kurenai approached him, it would present an opportunity to see if he could pick up some genjutsu. Or at least become more adept at identifying and dispelling them, since his chakra reserves weren't the best for casting illusions. Satsuki pulled out a copy of the Itoryu scroll and threw it to Naruto, saying, "I also found this, and thought you might like." The Jinchuriki caught it and realized what it was. Curious about learning a new kenjutsu style, Naruto asked, "Itoryu? Is that a kenjutsu style or something?" Satsuki nodded in response. Naruto nodded in agreement as Satsuki answered, "Yeah, it's something I found while looking through my clan's jutsu library to find anything that I could train in. I also found one called Nitoryu to learn for my swords, while I figured that one would be better suited for you." Naruto looked at Satsuki and Hinata and said, "Thanks, it'll definitely be useful, even better that I'll be getting a new sword soon." Hinata inquired, assuming he must have done so after leaving the Hokage tower, "You're getting a new sword? Did you have one commissioned to be made?" Naruto, startling the girls, nodded in understanding. "No, Yugo. Sensei came to me while I was training and told me that she got the Hokage's permission for us to travel to Takumi village in the land of rivers. It's a village of blacksmiths known for the unique weapons they create, making it a good place to go get a new sword. We're supposed to leave in a few days, giving me time to prepare and tell the few friends I have where I'll be going," Naruto said, startled the girls before nodding in understanding. Even though they were disappointed that he would be gone for a while, they decided to move on since they knew he would return eventually with his new weapon. Naruto and Hinata nodded in agreement as Satsuki said, "Well then, how about we get some training done before you go? You could at least start learning the basics of the Itoryu to be even better once you have your new sword." Hinata grinned and said, "Yeah, it'd be nice for us to train together some more before you leave, Naruto-kun." She enjoyed the opportunity to work out with her teammates before the Uzumaki departs. As the three of them made their way to the training grounds in search of one they could use, Naruto said, "Okay, then let's go." "Oi, Aniki, Satsuki, Nichan, Hinata, Nichan." When the three genin heard the familiar voice and titles, they stopped and turned to see Kanoka running in their direction, accompanied by two other children. The first is a boy wearing round glasses, a seemingly perpetual stream of snot hanging from his nose, short brown hair, and dark eyes. He was dressed simply in a blue shirt with a zip up the middle, brown pants, and ninja sandals. The second girl has dark purple, almost black eyes, and her orange hair is tied up into two enormous pigtails with red elastics. She also has a constant flush to her cheeks. She was wearing gray pants, blue ninja sandals, a pink shirt, and a red tank top. Naruto, Satsuki, and Hinata also noticed that the three children were wearing goggles, with Kanoka's goggles being partially obscured by her hat, and that they matched Naruto's goggles. Naruto looked at the three kids and raised an eyebrow. Kanoka, and who are your friends? Just as they abruptly leapt and posed. I'm Moegi, the cutest girl in the academy. I'm Udon, I like math, and I'm the leader, Kanoka Sarutobi, and together we're. The three kids yelled, the Kanoka Ninja Squad, while posing together, with the genin responding differently to their introduction. Hinata grinned, thinking the introduction was cute, while Satsuki stared at them expressionlessly before sighing and pinching the bridge of her nose. Additionally, Naruto gave them a vacant stare while twitching a little bit. Shaking his head, Naruto blinked in confusion, then said, I feel the need to hunt down and destroy a group of teenagers in colored spandex. Naruto said, so, I take these are friends of yours from the academy. Kanoka grinned and nodded. Kanoka replied, displaying their goggles, yeah. These are Moegi Kazumatsuri and Udon eyes. And check it out Aniki, we have goggles just like you, now. Hinata smiled at them and they smiled back, saying, and you three look very good with them. It's also nice to meet you both, Moegi, Udon. Udon said, sniffling a little, it's nice to meet you guys, too. Kanoka talks about you guys a lot and says you're really strong, even helping her with her training. Moegi nodded in agreement. Moegi gave her friend a playful smile and said, yeah, and we really wanted to meet you three. Kanoka also said that you and Satsuki were really pretty, and that Naruto was the coolest. Kanoka blushed a little. Kanoka blushed more and Satsuki smirked, did she? Well, it's certainly nice to hear you think we're really pretty, Kono-chan. Kanoka stumbled, then yelled, we, well it's trail true. N.N.No.No. Nothing else. Really, Naruto arched her forehead, causing Kanoka to cry out. Naruto smiled at Kono-chan, saying, don't worry, we think you're pretty and cool too. Kanoka whinnied, covering her red face, Aniki. Come on. Stop it. Naruto laughed softly, Hinata giggled, and Satsuki smirked. The tree kids instantly nodded and grinned with delight when Hinata said, okay Kanoka. So, since your friends wanted to meet us, does that mean you three would like to join us for some training? Yeah! Exclaimed the three children, Kanoka eager to work with them once more and Moegi and Udon thrilled to see how their friends had grown since working with the three genin. Satsuki motioned for the three to follow them to the training grounds, saying, then let's go, we were just about to go get some training done, so your timing is pretty good. Hanabi was keeping an eye on them, even though the group was unaware of it. When the Hyuga heiress first saw her sister and her teammates, she had the intention of ignoring them. She was enraged and envious of Kanoka, Moegi, and Udon when she saw them running towards them, and she became even more so when she noticed how delighted Hinata appeared to have them join her and her teammates. Alright. Why should I care? She's already found someone else to take my place, if she wants more siblings to help them forget about me, so what? Still, she's the worst sister ever. Still envious and enraged that Hinata was preferring to spend more time with other children than she had ever spent with her, Hanabi thought. Particularly considering the impact of her abandoning the Hyuga clan, which was greater than the young heiress had anticipated. Retrospective. Despite the increasing pain in her hands, Hanabi clenched her teeth and continued to strike the training post, applying more force with each palm strike. With every blow, the Hyuga heiress can only hear her father's words reverberating in her head. Again Hanabi. You must show hesitance or restraint in your strikes, power, precision, and speed are necessary to use the Juken to its full potential, now again. Is this challenge enough? Even after mentally screaming and pushing with his palm, a big crack started to form in the post, but Hanabi continued to hit it. The little girl continued hitting the tree, growing increasingly disoriented as to where she was at all. Instead, her thoughts turned to how much harder her training has gotten since Hinata left. In an attempt to avoid making the main family appear weak after failing to even stop his eldest daughter from leaving, her father is pressing her harder than before. This is something my daughter should be doing, not me. Her destiny as an heir is supposed to be fulfilled, not mine. Hanabi furiously pondered, recalling her grandfather's prophecy about fate following her father's application of the caged bird seal on Neji. All of us are born into this world bearing our own destiny, and everything we do is for the sake of the Hyuga clan. Is it really that important that people simply quit the Hyuga clan? As the fissure in the post widened, Hanabi's thoughts involuntarily shifted to her sister. Hanabi kept muttering, why? He was curious as to why Hinata would abandon the clan and leave her behind. I can't help it, but remember the night she came to her room the next day and played with her sister despite being injured and exhausted, and the time she spied on her training when she was still the Hyuga heiress. She trained independently because she aspired to be as kind and compassionate as Hinata, in addition to being strong like her. Just until the inevitable day when they would have to battle it out to determine who would become the Hyuga clan's heir. And she was defeated. It was supposed to be her destiny to be an heiress and she was supposed to be strong. Still, she was defeated, Hanabi thought as her breathing became labored. But despite Hinata's chilly demeanor toward her, she was still always the reassuring presence in her life. Even so, it did little to ease her pain and disillusionment at being forced to accept a title and position that she had never asked for. Despite how coldly she treated her, Hinata still cared about her, wanted to spend time with her, and tried to console her when needed. Until she found someone else to take my place, made the decision to go be with her new pals. I don't want to do anything for her, and she doesn't need me. I don't need her or anyone else. I'm good on my own. Before abruptly stopping her blows to the post, Hanabi thought, it seems like at some point, instead of giving thrusts with her palm, she started punching it. In addition to the pain she could feel in her palms, she could see that her knuckles were now bleeding. Hanabi turned to face the post and noticed that it had been damaged, and that her blood had left small stains on the wood. Breathing heavily and not caring if anyone saw her, Hanabi turned and ran back inside the compound, not even knowing what she was doing anymore. The brunette's body was carrying her somewhere, but she had no idea where she was going. At last, she dashed into a room and loudly slammed the door shut. Panting and leaning her back against the door, Hanabi slid to the ground as she attempted to gather her thoughts and get herself under control. But Hanabi felt something suddenly snap inside her mind upon realizing that she had ended up in Hinata's old room when she looked up and saw exactly what room she had run into. The last time she saw Hinata in this room was when she was thinking back to the times she and Hinata spent together before their fight, before feeling her whole body begin to tremble at the sight of the now empty room. Everyone in the compound heard Hanabi's sudden scream and jumped, as she was unable to contain her pure agony, pain, hurt, and anger. The girl stopped caring who heard her or even that she had tears in her eyes. Hanabi cried out, "Why did you leave me?" And then he lunged forward, tearing the room apart. Before moving to the desk and grabbing the chair and tossing it against the wall, he tore apart the bed and pillow, sending stuffing flying everywhere. She proceeded to tip over the desk and hit it repeatedly, breaking off and flinging the legs in the process. Then she turned to the bookshelf, stomped on top of it until it broke beneath her, then ran over and grabbed it, toppling it too. Hanabi continued to smash and rip apart the room, destroying everything in her path, until she found herself standing in the middle of the now demolished space. Screaming as loudly as she could while holding her hands to her head, the brunette eventually passed out from emotional overload and tiredness and fell to the ground. Final flashback. Hanabi had woken up to find her father standing over her in her own room, only to discover that she had been unconscious for almost the whole day. She was subsequently brought before the entire Hyuga Council, who proceeded to chastise her for her behavior, deeming it inappropriate for a member of the main family. Particularly considering that multiple branch family members had witnessed the aftermath of her breakdown. Given how her father let a failure like Hinata to leave the Hyuga clan without branding her with the caged bird seal to protect their secrets, her act could be seen as a threat to their authority, raising doubts about their family's capacity to rule the Hyuga clan in the future. Normally, Hanabi would be embarrassed by her actions and vow to change for the better, but after what she had gone through, she didn't give a damn. Hanabi simply didn't care about the opinions of the elders or the other members of the clan, about the care that some branch family members showed her, or about the people who she knew enjoyed her suffering in secret. She continued to act like a model little heiress, apologized, and made a vow to do better, but only out of instinct, as she had no real intention of doing so. Although Hanabi was secretly terrified that she would lose it at any time, she tried her hardest not to show it, just as she had done since she was chosen to be the Hyuga heiress. But no matter how hard she tried, she was unable to control her emotions, and it turned out to be much harder than it had been before. She felt as though she was now trying to fill a broken jar. Particularly in regards to Hinata and the new substitutes she has in place of her. What distinguishes them from me? Neither their appearance nor their talent make them stand out. Hanabi scowled as he considered his options and chose to follow Team 7 and the other kids. Wanting to demonstrate to herself in particular that she was superior to the replacements her sister had selected. With Kanoka Ninja Squad and Team 7, as they approached an empty training area, Naruto inquired, "So, Moegi, Udon, did you two meet Kanoka in the academy?" Moegi and Kanoka nodded in agreement as Udon said, "We met not long before we all entered the academy." Moegi said, delighted that they were all in the same class, "Yeah. We all met at the park and spent the entire day playing together. We've been friends ever since. And we're all really excited when we were enrolled in the academy." Kanoka complained that most of their classes were dull and didn't really allow them to learn any ninja techniques. But some of the classes are really boring. Like learning flower arranging and learning other cultures, which just seems useless. And then Uruka. Sensei's lectures just keep going on, forever, Kanoka exclaimed. Hinata surprised the brunette by flicking her forehead, even though the Hyuga was typically the more kind-hearted genin, causing her to yell. "You shouldn't ignore your lessons, even if they don't seem useful, even if they're not all about fighting and learning jutsu. Also, I'll have you know that flower arranging and learning other cultures are very important, especially for kunoichi, as we'd be the ones most likely sent on infiltration missions since we're able to look less threatening than shinobi. And learning about flower arrangements and other cultures allows us to help blend in better with different societies, making it less likely for kunoichi to be discovered. It's also useful to learn about different types of flowers and plants since they can also be used in making medicines and poisons, something that'd be useful to know when outside of the village." Hinata wanted them to comprehend understanding as essential. A part of her also took offense at Kanoka's statement that flower arranging was pointless, considering that she enjoys pressing flowers and learning about various kinds of flowers. She's right about everything, and that learning about different cultures can be interesting and give you more knowledge about things outside the village. As for Uruka's lectures, consider it as learning patience, something that will help you on missions that won't require you to do a lot of fighting, Satsuki said, causing the students to exchange thoughtful glances before Kanoka reluctantly nodded. Kanoka yelled again when Naruto flicked her, but she continued to prefer more lessons on fighting and jutsu. Yeah, okay. I'll try looking at the classes differently." "What was that for?" exclaimed Kanoka, annoyed at being taken advantage of once more. With a sly grin, Naruto said, "I've already said that it amuses me and that your pouting face is adorable. Even better when you get embarrassed about it." The young brunette blushed and turned away, then glared at her friends when they began laughing. "So aside from becoming ninjas, is there anything else you two wanted to do after becoming ninjas?" Naruto inquired, glancing at Udon and Moegi. Satsuki and Hinata also looked at them, interested in finding out more about Kanoka's companions. "Well, I've thought about teaching at the academy when I'm older because it seems like a nice way to help students become ninjas, especially since I really enjoy learning new things and I could probably still learn a lot by teaching at the academy. Or maybe even join the cryptanalysis team. Maybe I could join that since we learned about it, because it seems like a really fun way to help solve problems, deciphering codes and messages, and everything seeming like a puzzle to be solved," Udon replied. "Whilst you seem pretty smart, so I'm sure you'll have what it takes one day," Satsuki said, nodding to the boy in glasses and Hinata as well. "That's a good goal to have, wanting a chance to help guide new generations at the academy, or helping to decipher codes and messages. But either goal means you'll really have a lot of work and studying to do to be able to qualify for either role." Hinata questioned, glancing at the Orangette, "What about you, Moegi? Do you just want to be a ninja or join another division?" Moegi declared as she struck a pose, "I want to be one of the best kunoichi in the world. And also the prettiest idol too." The genin gave her a startled look. "An idol?" Hinata asked, startled by what she heard, and Moegi grinned. "Yes, I want to be extremely beautiful as well as strong, since no kunoichi has ever been both an idol and a beautiful person. That will make me the first," exclaimed Moegi, causing the genin to ponder for a while. Satsuki said, "Well, it's definitely a unique goal," to which the brunette nodded in agreement. Moegi gave Naruto a startled look as he said, "Yeah, it is. Though I'm sure it's one you'll be able to reach, Moegi." Given that everyone but Kanoka and Udon found it ridiculous and teased her for it, Moegi questioned, "Really?" The whiskered ravenette nodded in answer. "Yes. It's definitely not a profession one would expect a kunoichi to have, but that also makes it perfect, given it'd make enemies underestimate you." thinking that you focus more on your looks than your skills, along with helping to throw them off guard when you show how capable you are. Not to mention it'd be useful in helping blend in and wearing a disguise on missions. So, yeah, I believe that you'd be able to do it, making you an even better kunoichi in the process," said Naruto, causing the Oranget to beam phrases. "I'll be the best kunoichi and idol I can be when I'm older. Thank you, Naruto." "Nichan!" exclaimed Moegi, feeling touched and delighted by his belief in her dream. Kanoka was right. He is genuinely awesome. Gazing admiringly at the Uzumaki, Moegi pondered. Naruto grinned at Moegi and said, "I'm sure you will. It helps that you certainly have the confidence for it, and like you said, you are the cutest girl in the academy already." Moegi blushed at this. Moegi timidly questioned, Really, since that is how she, Kanoka, and Udon introduce themselves?" "Yes, your distinctive hair and eye features make you stand out even more. I'm sure you'll develop into a beautiful woman as well," Naruto answered, causing Moegi's blush to deepen and Kanoka's eye to twitch. Naruto continued, giving the brunette a sly smile at her friend, "Though you'll also have Kanoka to compete with as well." Kanoka said, "Yeah, Moegi. I'll be an even stronger kunoichi. Maybe even be an idol too, since I'm in need of a new goal since I don't want to be Hokage anymore." Moegi looked her friend in the eye and then grinned. Moegi said, scoffing at the Sarutobi, "Are you sure about that, Kanoka? I wouldn't want to worry about hurting your feelings by upstaging you." Naruto intervened before things got out of hand, saying, "Alright, that's enough, besides we're here." The three kids perked up as they arrived at an empty training ground and turned to look at the genin expectantly. Kanoka was excited to see what they would be learning about today and exclaimed, "So, what are we going to learn first, Aniki?" Naruto and Hinata nodded in agreement as Satsuki said, "How about giving you three a little head start for when you become genin?" Udon asked, "What kind of head start?" and the Uchiha produced 3 pieces of chakra paper. This is called chakra paper. It's used to help ninja find out their elemental affinity in order to master them. Obviously we won't actually be training you 3 to master your affinities, that'll be up to your Jonin sensei. But it'll be something useful to know later on, allowing you to better focus on elemental ninjutsu you're aligned with. Just channel some chakra into the paper to see what your affinities are." Satsuki went on to explain the chakra paper. The 3 students nodded and channeled some chakra into the paper. Kanoka's ignited after being sliced in half. Moegi's became wet before disintegrating, and Udon's got wet. Moegi questioned as they examined their chakra papers, or what was left of them for her and Kanoka, "What does that all mean?" It appears that Udon possesses a water affinity, Moegi possesses both an earth and a water affinity, and Kanoka possesses both a wind and a fire affinity. Satsuki nodded, observing that their affinities were strong enough to complement one another. "Alright. I got 2 awesome affinities, with them being way cooler than earth or water," Kanoka exclaimed, giving Moegi a sly smile. The brunette then smirked when Naruto flicked Kanoka. "Yes, you have a fire affinity and wind affinity, with the former being useless against Moegi's water affinity. Just because you have affinities that are good for attacking, doesn't mean they're all powerful. While having an earth affinity and water affinity means Moegi would be capable of not just attacking, but defending as well. Along with being capable of hiding underground, changing the terrain of a battlefield, and manipulating any form of earth around her. While her water affinity is just as useful since it'd be strong against fire-style ninjutsu, as well as capable of slowing down or even trapping opponents. The same applies to Udon's own water affinity," said Naruto, with the Orangette's smirk growing while Kanoka looked down. "But that also doesn't mean your own affinities aren't still powerful. I have a wind affinity as well, which is supposed to be really rare in the land of fire, making it a good surprise to have against opponents. Having a fire affinity to go along with your wind affinity makes it even more powerful if you combine them together for even more powerful attacks. You could even combine wind-style ninjutsu with water-style ninjutsu, giving them both more range, coverage, and power," Naruto said, causing Kanoka to smile at Moegi, pleased to share a similar crushing. Kanoka said, "Hear that, Moegi? I'll be able to help you when your water starts falling short." Moegi grinned back. Kanoka grimaced in frustration as Moegi said, "You mean after I use it to cool off that hothead of yours, you mean? Or when you have your head in the clouds and need to be brought back down to earth?" Kanoka shot back, "As long as you don't have your head buried in the ground for too long." Hinata and Satsuki exchanged a look as they observed Kanoka and Moegi exchanging jabs. With their respective crushes on Naruto, both genin wonder what their friendship would have been like if they had been classmates in the academy. Hinata drew the kids' attention by saying, "Okay, now that we know what your affinities are, let's go on to the actual training. It'll be a chakra control exercise, something every ninja learns once they become genin." When Kanoka first saw it, she was eager to find out, asking, "Is it that one you taught Aniki and Satsuki? Nichan to walk up trees? Or what about the one where you three walked on water?" Hinata nodded in answer. To the surprise and amazement of Moegi and Udon, Hinata said, "The first one, since water walking is still a little advanced." Kanoka's already heard the explanation of what the exercise requires. But Moegi, Udon, pay attention, what you need to do is focus a fixed amount of chakra to the bottom of your feet. Doing so allows you to stick to practically any surface. Like this. She then approached a tree. Before jumping off the tree, Hinata said, "You need to make sure you use enough chakra, otherwise you won't stick to the tree and fall off, but if you use too much chakra then you'll be blown off of it. You three will be doing that for today, and if you manage to succeed in sticking to the tree, then start running up and down it until you get low on chakra. It'll help to build up your chakra control and chakra reserves, as well as being good physical exercise. And the more you do it, you'll eventually start sticking subconsciously without needing to actively channel chakra to your feet. Understood?" said Naruto. The kids exclaimed, "Hi," and nodded in agreement. "Then begin climbing," Satsuki said, gesturing to 3 trees arranged in a row. The students hurried over to the trees and started practicing climbing them. After, Team 7 had been monitoring the Kanoka Ninja Squad's progress for a few hours as they continued to practice the surface walking exercise. Moegi has demonstrated that he already possesses a fair amount of chakra control, surpassing both Kanoka and Udon in this regard. Something that only encouraged Kanoka to work even harder at perfecting the exercise and not allow the Orangehead to get the better of her. They did, however, occasionally need to pause because their chakra reserves were still quite small, but they would immediately resume after taking a nap. They were all 3 focused on getting the hang of the exercise as soon as possible, while Hinata, Satsuki, and Naruto stayed largely in the background, lending a helping hand when needed. Then, before the whiskered Ravenet left and sat beneath a tree, he took out a notebook and a pen and started drawing the sword he intended to have made in Takumi village. Must it be the crescent blade alone? Gazing at his sketch of Zen Akeyu's crescent blade, Naruto pondered whether or not to simply have a duplicate made. It would be simple for the Duke Wolf to become proficient with the weapon given his memories. However, Naruto was unwilling to simply tailor his fighting style to Zen Akeyu's inherent skills. Despite being the Duke Wolf's heir, he was also looking for his own look. As Naruto started to alter the sketch, he thought, maybe just have some parts from it, without being a replica. He changed or added some details while removing others. The sword soon took on the appearance of an oversized kyber knife, minus the handle in favor of an oversized tang. Naruto is now feeling that he is on the right track with the design of the sword he wanted, and he is grinning at the design. Naruto thought to himself, the only problem is there's no handle, and then he started modifying the blade some more. As Satsuki and Hinata noticed their friend drawing in a notepad, they became intrigued and exchanged glances before approaching him. When the girls noticed that Naruto was drawing swords, they knew he must be coming up with a concept for the one he wanted produced. As they stood on either side of Naruto, Hinata inquired, "Is that the sword you're going to have made in Takumi village?" Which caused the Uzumaki to glance up before nodding. After nodding in agreement, the girls examined what Naruto had so far and said, "Yeah, I have a good idea of what I want it to look like, now I'm just focusing on the smaller details and any additions I'd want to include. Given Takumi village is known for producing unique and special weapons, it couldn't hurt if I had some extra features to my sword." While Hinata nodded in agreement, acknowledging that would be a useful ability, Satsuki proposed, "What about it having the ability to absorb and store chakra within it, allowing you to either release the stored up chakra as an attack without using your own or transfer the chakra to you if you're running low?" Naruto hummed in thought and jotted down the idea. Maybe even make it possible to turn the chakra stored inside it into elemental chakra, letting you use elemental techniques even if you can't use the element the chakra's turned into, like being able to use lightning style or earth style techniques with it. Hinata said, and Naruto recorded her suggestion as well. Naruto nodded in agreement with Satsuki and Hinata, saying, "Good ideas and would be very useful." Another potential feature I was thinking of is making it so only I'd be able to use the sword, while anyone else who tries grabbing it would be drained of their chakra, making it easier to take enemies down if I just trick them into picking up the sword. Also, since it appears that you intend for it to be quite large, perhaps another feature could be that it can contract or change into a smaller sword. That way, you won't be at a disadvantage if you're fighting in a more enclosed area. Satsuki added, and Naruto nodded in agreement. Kanoka, Moegi, and Udon approached the genin, curious about what they were doing and seeing Naruto sketching something. "What sword, Aniki?" Kanoka inquired. Naruto answered, displaying what he currently has and the suggestions made, "A sword I'm planning to have commissioned in a few days. We were just thinking of different features and abilities it could have." Kanoka, thrilled to be able to assist her crush in creating his weapon, exclaimed, "Oh, you should give it a chain at the end. Then you could swing it around to hit enemies. No wait, put another sword on the end of the handle so you can attack twice as many enemies." That wouldn't make any sense. He could end up hitting a teammate and putting another sword on it would make it too heavy. He should make it be able to transform into other weapons. That'd be way cooler and more useful to have it be able to transform, said Moegi. Why have it turn into other weapons when it already is a weapon? Besides, Aniki's sword would already be awesome, it wouldn't need to turn into anything else. And he could have another sword on the end of the chain. Then he could throw one and swing around after it hits something, said Kanoka. It'd be cooler to turn into other weapons and be a big surprise, Moegi said. Kanoka nodded enthusiastically as Udon said, maybe something to cover your hand with. Kanoka's uncle has these trench knives he wears on his hands. Maybe you could have something like that. Yeah. Uncle Asuma uses trench knives to fight and channels chakra into them to make them longer. You could do the same, Aniki. Then you'd be able to also punch enemies and make your sword longer, Kanoka replied. Naruto nodded at their recommendations, realizing that while most of them were incredibly unrealistic and juvenile, some did have some value and could be modified to make them more useful and realistic. Uzumaki noted the qualities and powers he liked or thought would be helpful, while his teammates and the students continued to suggest features and abilities for his sword. They had no idea that Hanabi was watching them from behind the trees, clenching her fists in frustration at her sister's close relationship with Kanoka and her friends. Having followed them both during their journey to the training area and upon their arrival, the more she observed Hinata interact with them and saw how the three academy students looked up to her, the more she felt resentment, hatred, pain, and sadness. Despite Hanabi's best attempts to ignore and push these feelings back down, the more she watched, the more they grew. Before the Hyuga heiress stormed out of her hiding place, unable to take it any longer. The group looked up in shock when Hanabi yelled, "You're the worst sister anyone could ever have." Hinata was the most taken aback to see her sister. Hinata began, surprised to see Hanabi here, but the brunette interrupted her. "I hate you for being a terrible sister. I wish I never even had a sister if I knew you were like this," exclaimed Hanabi, glaring at the brunette. "First you leave and now you're finding replacements for me. You're the worst. I hate you. I hate you for not being stronger. I hate you for making me become the heiress. I hate you for leaving. I hate that you're replacing me now." Hinata frowned at her sister after looking shocked and hurt by Hanabi's outburst. "Hanabi, I'm sorry I made you feel that way, but that's no excuse to act like this. Especially since I never intended to replace you. We could have still spent time together, I even wanted to still spend time together like we used to, but you didn't want to. Nor have I ever once made you do something that you didn't want to," Hinata said, as Hanabi continued to glare at. "But you made me become heiress, that's something I didn't want. You were supposed to be stronger, but you weren't. I still beat you, now I have a destiny I never wanted," Hanabi responded. "You won because I refused to hurt you. I could have won our match, but I chose not to. But that doesn't mean you still aren't skilled and powerful yourself, Hanabi. I wasn't going to hurt someone I care about. Especially over something like remaining heiress," Hinata said, causing the brunette to grit her. Hanabi yelled, "Then that just makes you a coward if you aren't willing to fight for something. Or that you'd hesitate to strike just because you care about your opponent." "I didn't hesitate." Hinata nodded in agreement. "No, you didn't, and maybe that does make you strong. Maybe I am a coward for not wanting to hurt someone I care about. But if that's the case, then so be it. I couldn't be what the rest of the Hyuga clan wanted me as, someone who'd do anything for the good of the clan, and I'm fine with that, since it would have meant I'd stop caring about anyone or anything but the clan. But that doesn't mean I don't fight for something. I fight to protect those I care about, that's something I'll never hesitate in doing. That still includes you, Hanabi. Even if you do hate me, I'd still want to keep you safe. Hinata replied. That didn't stop you from leaving. You say you'll keep me safe, but you still left me alone. You never came back to see me, you didn't even see me when you left. Now you're a liar and a coward, said Hanabi, glaring at her sister. Hinata responded, with Hanabi frowning angrily as her eyes darted all over before settling on the brunette. I couldn't come see you, Hanabi. It only would have caused more problems, given how I am banished from the Hyuga clan. And nothing was stopping you from coming to see me, like you're doing now. I would have loved the chance to see you again, but it was your choice not to come meet me sooner. Hanabi shot back, knowing that if she forced her sister to return, she would never lose her again. Then I'll force you to come back. Once I'm clan head, you'll have to do what I say. That includes coming back to the compound. I'll make it so you can't leave ever again and do whatever I say, Hanabi said. You can't do that, Hanabi. Even if by some chance the council agreed to let me return, it'd only cause problems for you and me, replied Hinata. I don't see a. Hanabi began, but Hinata interrupted her. With a firm, Hanabi, stop. Now, Hinata caused the young brunette to halt and give her a startled look. I am sorry if I made you feel like I abandoned or replaced you, it was never my intentions, but I couldn't stay with the Hyuga clan anymore. It was clear after I lost against you that I wasn't welcome. Both the main family and branch family saw me as a failure, with the latter also hating me for being part of the main family as well, despite my attempts to be kind to them. Leaving was the only option left, and I'm glad that I took it to finally have my own freedom without worry of being judged for my personality or kindness. But that doesn't mean I stopped caring about you, Hanabi. You're still my little sister. Nor does it mean I'm going to deal with you acting like a child that got their favorite toy taken away. You chose to cut me out of your life, you chose not to come see me when I left, and you chose to come here now and confront me. I may have left, but you also need to accept the fact you had a role to play in that as well, said Hinata, with Hanabi looking at her with wide eyes before quickly shaking her head and glaring at her. Alright, then, go and maintain your silly companions and your newfound siblings. I'm okay if I never have to see you again, better yet if I forget you ever existed. I don't want you to return ever again or think of me as your sister, exclaimed Hanabi, and Hinata gave her a detached glance before nodding. Hinata whispered, if that's what you want, Hanabi. The heiress trembled a little at her acceptance. It is. Good riddance, exclaimed Hanabi as she turned to walk away, holding out hope that the suffering would eventually end. Kanoka yelled, hey, as he stood up and hurried over to Hanabi, causing the Hyuga heiress to halt and give her a chilly stare. What do you want? Hanabi asked, glaring at her, replacement, and not listening to anything she had to say. Kanoka exclaimed, apologize to Hinata. Nichan and to us too, right now. Hanabi laughed at this. Hanabi shot back as she turned to leave, asking, why should I waste my time on such nonsense? Or even keep wasting my time talking to you? Kanoka said, then you're the real coward, which caused Hanabi to halt and slowly turn to face her. Hanabi yelled, what did you just call me? She was incensed that she would even consider her a coward. That you're the real coward, Hinata. Nichan did nothing wrong to you. She even still cares about you enough to willingly never see you again just because it's what you want. But you still hate her just for wanting to be happy. You're not just a coward, you're selfish too. You don't care about what she wants, only what you want. But I'm not going to let you talk to her that way, so apologize, Kanoka said, glaring at the Hyuga. Hanabi shot back, why don't you try and make me, loser? Saying, fine. Best 2. Out of 3, when I win you'll apologize. Not that it'll take me longer than 1 round to beat you. Hinata worriedly glanced at Kanoka as Hanabi mocked her for genuinely posing a challenge. Given that her sister has been training for years and is a main family prodigy, Hinata remarked, Kanoka, you really don't have to do this. Hanabi, glaring at them both, said, no, if your new sister wants to lose so badly, then I'll fight her. I could use a nice warm-up before getting back to my actual training. Hanabi was now eager to take out Kanoka, even if it meant slightly hurting Hinata. Kanoka shot back, you're the only one who'll lose, and assumed a stance, with Hanabi following suit in the Juken stance. With a sly grin, Hanabi said, you're not even worth using my Byakugan on. He meant for this to end quickly. Hanabi scoffed at Kanoka's attack plan as she charged at her with her fist pulled back, scowling at her words. The Sarutobi soon drew nearer to Hanabi and threw her fist at her head, but Hanabi blocked the blow and then pushed her hand toward Kanoka's stomach to remove her. Though Hanabi was taken aback when Kanoka sidestepped her palm strike, grabbed her wrist, and propelled her forward, nearly losing the Hyuga's momentum. Hanabi was taken aback when she succeeded in stopping herself from falling to the ground. Subsequently, the Hyuga swiftly spun around, blocking another blow Kanoka delivered to the back of her head. Prior to Hanabi delivering another palm strike that actually hit Kanoka in the abdomen, causing the other brunette to gasp. The heiress then abruptly kicked Kanoka in the sweeping manner, causing her legs to come out from under her. Delivering a second blow to the face with his palm that knocked her down, Hanabi pinned her with his foot on her chest. Hanabi taunted, "Have you been humiliated enough or do you want to be further embarrassed?" Kanoka scowled at her, then smirked. Kanoka shot back, "Are you ready to be embarrassed?" And then, shocking the Hyuga heiress, snatched Hanabi by the ankle and threw her off. Hanabi staggered to try to keep her balance because she didn't anticipate being grabbed or thrown back like that, which gave Kanoka time to get up and charge her. Before the Hyuga could fall to the ground, the Sarutobi leapt up and slammed her foot into Hanabi's face. Then Kanoka straddled Hanabi's waist and held her arms down before she could attempt to stand back up. Kanoka scoffed at Hanabi as she said, tauntingly, "Looks like it's my win now." Hanabi retorted, thinking she had won by default because, "We didn't start the second round, this is cheating." Kanoka grinned and brushed off the other brunette, "Nope. I said best 2 out of 3, I never said it'd be matches specifically, just that you had to win 2 times. And besides we're supposed to be ninja. That means cheating is just another tool we use to win. Which I've done." Hanabi gave her a wide-eyed stare. Kanoka continued, "But fine, if you want it to be fair, then this will decide the winner either way." Hanabi stood up, gave her a glare, and then assumed her usual stance once more. Hanabi vowed to make this as humiliating as possible and exclaimed, "I'm gonna enjoy seeing you eat dirt, loser." Kanoka shot back, saying, "That's my line," and charged Hanabi once more. Hanabi, not willing to fall for any more of Kanoka's ruses, is also racing towards her. The heiress flinching from Kanoka's blow. Kanoka ducked to the ground when the other brunette approached her, but she quickly retreated when Hanabi thrust her palm at her chest. Then, in an attempt to throw Hanabi off balance, the Sarutobi kicked her leg outward. She was taken aback when Hanabi whirled around her kick and moved behind her, yelling as he hit her in the back. Kanoka then rolled to the side, avoiding Hanabi's next blow, and leapt at the Hyuga, tackling her to the ground. Hanabi merely bowed her head, and Kanoka soared straight over her. When Hanabi struck the Sarutobi's chest with a painful palm strike, sending her flying and crashing into the ground, the Sarutobi cried out. Hanabi was on top of Kanoka before she could attempt to stand up, her hand drawn back to strike her once more. Hanabi said, "Just like I thought, this was a waste of my time," before rising and turning to leave the training area. The Hyuga heiress was pleased that no one stopped her this time. After confronting Hinata, Hanabi thought, hopefully now these feelings will go away, hoping that her anguish and sadness would eventually pass. She tried her hardest not to notice the feeling of humility she was experiencing after facing Hinata and realizing that Kanoka had defeated her. Kanoka muttered, sitting up, "I lost. I tried my best, but still lost." She was angry, hurt, and depressed that she hadn't succeeded in winning despite her best efforts. "I apologize to Aniki, Satsuki, and Hinata. Nichan, I failed," Kanoka thought to herself as she brought her knees to her chest and began to cry. Feeling that, despite their assistance in her training, she had let Hinata, Satsuki, and Naruto down by losing. Before the girl cried out in pain after being abruptly struck in the forehead, she had been fighting for Hinata but had ultimately lost, forcing her to look up in order to see Hinata and Naruto grinning at her. Naruto said, "You did pretty good, Kanoka, especially when you got your win and acted like a real ninja." Hinata nodded, causing Kanoka to turn to stare at them. Kanoka said, B you dot but I lost. I let you down, but all they could do was shake their heads." As Hinata smiled at the brunette and Satsuki nodded in agreement, she said, "You didn't let us down, Kanoka. Hanabi has been training a lot longer than you have and much more intensely. While you have improved a lot since we started training you, Hanabi just had more training. But that doesn't mean you failed. You may have lost the fight, you still tried your best and even managed to beat her once. Be proud since it shows how far you've come in your training." "They're right," No one's expecting you to be able to win every battle or defeat every opponent. There are going to be times you'll lose and get knocked down, but don't see them as failures, see them as opportunities to get up and try again and again. What's important is that you keep trying and never give up, that's when you'll really lose. So, don't see this as losing. Just a chance to try again and train even harder so that next time you will win. Satsuki responded by patting Kanoka on the shoulder and Udon came over to them. Kanoka. You truly are strong. You managed to defeat the Hyuga heiress once. You were incredible. Moegi exclaimed, grinning at her friend, and Udon nodded in agreement. Yeah, that was great. I don't think anyone else in the academy would have stood up to her like that, or come close to beating her like you did, Kanoka said, looking at them all in shock before beaming brightly and standing up. Udon added with a smile of his own. Kanoka exclaimed, determined to train harder and get stronger so that she would be the one to knock Hanabi down the next time. Yeah, I am awesome. I wasn't going to let her talk about any of us like that, or insult Hinata. Nichan. And maybe she won, but that just means I'll have to train even harder, so that next time, she'll be the one landing on her ass and me standing over her. The brunette moment was ruined when Hinata struck her on the head, causing her to yell. Hinata firmly refused to let Kanoka speak in that manner, saying, you can train as hard as you want, but don't think you'll be able to use such language at all, no matter how old you are. Kanoka sighed at being chastised and her moment being ruined, while the others laughed amiably at the sight. Time. Slip. 3 days. After gathering everything they would need for the journey and bidding farewell to loved ones, Naruto and Yugo left to head towards Takumi village. The purple teacher was observing her pupil with curiosity. Yugo said, so, I've heard you've worked out a design for your new sword, along with some abilities you'd wanted to have. Naruto nodded in agreement and took out the notebook containing the design of his sword, giving it to her. Yugo opened the book and studied the designs, her eyes widening at everything there. Naruto said, yeah, I just finished the design yesterday, after getting all the details worked out. And I'm hoping that we'll find someone in Takumi village, who can make it exactly as it is. Yugo, impressed by what Naruto has created, said, well, I'll say that if we can find someone who can make this, it'll certainly be one of a kind. It could even rival the abilities of the 7 swords of the mists. Yugo asked, are you also planning to give it a name? The Uzumaki nodded. Naruto smirked and said, yeah, I even already have one picked out and thought it was pretty fitting. Yugo glanced at him curiously before glancing back at the scroll to see if he had written anything down and quickly discovered what she surmised to be the sword's name. Zangetsu. Spreading out his senses, Naruto sat in a meditative posture, feeling and perceiving everything around him. Being able to see her chakra as she moved and sense Yugo close by while she was preparing breakfast. Not only could they sense the movements of the animals in the forest, but they could also see nearby birds, watching them as they flew by. Yugo pulled Naruto out of his meditation and said, Naruto, breakfast is ready. Then, he got up and walked over to the fire to grab the plate Yugo had held out for him. As they started eating, Naruto sat down and said, thanks, Yugo. Sensei. The purplet nodded in agreement. Yugo inquired, wanting to know how he was doing with the training they had been doing for the past few days. No problem. You've learned the sensing technique fairly quickly, but how are you with the flying swallow? The two had taken their time on the journey to complete some training because they weren't exactly in a rush to get to Takumi village. Naruto learns from the Anbu how to use her sensing technique to more accurately detect and follow a person's chakra signature, and the flying swallow, which gave him the ability to direct chakra into his weapon to lengthen and sharpen it. In addition, the user has the ability to customize the length of the chakra blade that surrounds the physical one, making it as long or short as desired. Along with teaching him some new chakra control exercises, Yugo also assisted him with his kenjutsu and general abilities. Satisfied with his progress toward replicating the sonic howl and chakra claws, Naruto replied, I've gotten better at the flying swallow. The chakra control exercises also helping to better shape my chakra around my weapons, with the flying swallow especially helping with the latter. Having also observed the similarities between the flying swallow and the chakra claws, the whiskered ravenet built strong chakra structures around a weapon. In contrast, the chakra claws can both launch them toward a target and perform the same function. It was then that he noticed the parallels between them and his Beast Wave Gale Palm and the Beast Tearing Palm, particularly with the latter. To aid in the further recreation of the chakra claws, he only needed to dissect those jutsu and their execution. Consequently, Naruto has advanced the most with the chakra claws compared to Sonic Howl. Yugo nodded, observing Naruto's apparent aptitude for shape transformation. That's good, they seem like incredibly versatile attacks to have, and once you've managed to recreate them, you'll be able to further improve and make your own versions. Something that can be very versatile in shaping your chakra into anything you want, giving you a wide range of attacks and jutsu to use, in addition to being good at further assisting him in maintaining his chakra control. Which, when nature transformation is used, only gets stronger. In order to enhance the Sonic Howl and chakra claws, Naruto said, that's what I'm hoping to do, once I've recreated and mastered them. After that, it'd be adding my wind affinity to them. His remarks made the Purplet proud and in awe of her students' will to keep becoming a better person because she knew it would greatly aid in his development as a shinobi. Yugo said, nodding in response, just don't try overworking yourself by training in too many things. Even with shadow clones, you could end up pushing yourself to the point of exhaustion, which will only do more harm than good for you. The Uzumaki then looked at her questioningly. Yugo. Sensei, who taught you kenjutsu? Yugo asked, a little taken aback, before responding to Naruto, who was curious as to who had taught her the art. Hayate-kun was appointed to teach me kenjutsu due to the talent I showed in it, and he's one of the best kenjutsu users in Konoha. Yugo replied. Said Naruto, was there anyone before Hayate Sensei that trained you? The Uzumaki wasn't sure Hayate had taught her kenjutsu from the start, considering Hayate was only a year older than Yugo. I did have another instructor. They started teaching me kenjutsu after seeing I had a natural talent for it, along with helping me perfect my sensing abilities and teaching me the sensing techniques I use. It was their training that helped me get selected to join Anbu at a young age. They were actually considered the best kenjutsu user in the village, being much stronger than me and Hayate-kun together. Though they were also very intense when it came to training, but it certainly paid off in the end. Said Yugo with a small smile, with Naruto's curiosity growing at who her other instructor. Naruto inquired, are they still in the village? Which made the Purplet grin fade and shake her head. The Uzumaki winced as Yugo revealed, no, they aren't. They're dead, actually. Oh, sorry, Naruto said, and Yugo dismissed him with a wave. Yugo replied, it's fine, you had no way of knowing. While I miss them, they died protecting someone they loved, and that's something they would gladly give their life to do. Naruto then turned to face her. Naruto asked, did you spend time with them outside of training? And Yugo nodded. I did, in fact, we probably spent more time together outside of training than we did training. Like I said, they were pretty intense in training and didn't hold back much, but outside of training, they were a different kind of intense. Being pretty hyperactive, impulsive, and stubborn, but still being level-headed and cheerful, along with being pretty sassy. Though they were also kind and caring to those close to them, always willing to do anything they could to help those they cared about. While for those that got on their bad side, it usually didn't end too well, since one thing that they were well known for was their temper. If you made them angry, the safer choice was usually to just take whatever beating they gave, since running only made them angrier. They were someone you had to meet for yourself to see how amazing they were, and I'm happy for the chance to have met and be trained by them. Yugo explained with a smile, while Naruto tried imagining a person like that. When Naruto realized that most of what she had just said could be applied to how he was before merging with Zen. Aku, he said, huh, you know it's funny, I feel like a lot of what you just said could apply to me. Yugo smiled at her student and said, I know, you actually remind me a lot about them too. She recognized a lot of similarities between her and her first teacher in him. I'll take that as a compliment. However, if it's okay with you, may I ask what their name was? Inquired Naruto, curious about her teacher's name. Yugo hesitates again at his question, biting her lip because she's not sure if she should tell him their name because it might cause some issues. However, if she kept it from him, he might become suspicious and begin to look for it on his own, which could cause serious issues. After a short while, Yugo revealed, thinking it would be safer to just tell him. Naruto scowled a little at the name, Kushina. Her name was Kushina. Naruto mumbled, unable to suppress the pain he felt at the name, as though it should have some significance for him. Kushina. She really does sound like an amazing person, he said. Yes, she was, Yugo replied. adding in her mind that she would have made an even better mother as she cast a sidelong glance at her pupil. After receiving training from Kushina and discovering she was wed to the Yondaime Hokage, she was fully aware of Naruto's parents. That's why, when Kakashi asked, the purpleette jumped at the chance to assist in teaching him Kenjutsu, wanting to be able to assist her teacher's son. And the opportunity to get to know him, considering the Sandame's decision to shield him from his parents' enemies and prevent him from learning about his heritage. As one of his Anbu guards growing up, she did her best to protect him from those who would try to harm him or from people like Danzo who would want to take advantage of him. Even though Yugo didn't tell Naruto that she is his mother, she was aware that, should the Hokage ever find out, she would probably face consequences for telling him about Kushina. However, she also felt that in order for him to feel a connection with her, he should at least be aware of who she was and what her name was. Naruto said, "Thanks, Yugo Sensei, for telling me about your first instructor." The purpleette grinned and nodded in agreement. Yugo wanted to tell him everything she could about his mother, so she said, "No problem, and if you ever want to hear more about Kushina Sensei, then don't hesitate to ask." After talking about various topics for a while, the two eventually finished their breakfast and set up camp to head towards Takumi village. Time. Skip. One day. As they strolled through Takumi village, the villagers didn't even bother to disguise their dislike, even hatred, and cold attitude of the two ninja being here. Naruto said quietly to Yugo, "When you said Takumi village didn't like ninja, I think you downplayed how much." Yugo replied, looking around the village, her instincts telling her to have her sword drawn and ready for an attack. "I've only heard about their dislike of ninja, but seeing it firsthand, it's honestly a miracle they let us inside." Causing the two to question whether they ought to have tried the suggestion Naruto had made earlier, before they had arrived. Retrospective. As they neared Takumi village in the hopes of finding a blacksmith willing to work with them, Naruto asked, "Yugo Sensei, since Takumi village doesn't really like or trust ninja, do you think we should take off our forehead protectors?" Prior to coming up with a possible solution to ease their stay in Takumi village, the whiskered ravenette thought of something. Yugo frowned at him, realizing that although the plan made sense and would facilitate their journey, it would also lead to more issues than they could handle. As Yugo looked at her student, Naruto paused and considered the situation before realizing that, while taking off and hiding their forehead protectors would make things easier in the short term, it would probably make things harder for them and Konoha as a whole in the long run. Remember that everyone in Takumi village hates ninja and the hidden villages they come from, especially ones from the 5 great nations. How do you think they'll react when, not if, they learn we essentially tricked them into helping us? In the best case scenario, they simply demand Zangetsu's return and payment for being duped. In the worst case scenario, they simply put the two of them on notice and take Zangetsu back. Yugo nodded and gave Naruto a shoulder pat in response to his statement that, yeah, it'd be a bad idea. As they proceeded, Yugo was reassured, "Don't worry, I'm sure there'll be at least one blacksmith willing to do business with us." Final flashback. Since no blacksmith has agreed to make Naruto's sword thus far, the Anbu sincerely wished she could go back and kick herself. So far, every store they've visited has either refused to accept the commission or told them to leave without saying anything more, making them understand that Takumi village's animosity toward ninja was far more intense than they had first believed. Yugo sighed and said, "Come on, let's take a break before we keep searching." Before they could find a seat, they took out some containers of dango that they had managed to buy from a restaurant. Nevertheless, before they could begin eating, Naruto and Yugo started examining and testing each of their dango sticks to make sure they hadn't been tampered with. After a short while, Yugo asked her student, "Are yours fine, Naruto?" And the student nodded. Naruto asked, the purpleette nodding in agreement, "They look fine and I don't smell anything wrong with them. What about yours, Yugo Sensei?" Relieved that Anko wasn't with them, Yugo said, "Seems like they weren't poisoned, so that's good at least." Anko would probably go on a rampage and kill anyone who tampered with her favorite food. Before they started eating, the two realized how lucky they were to even be able to purchase dango considering the restaurant they went to appeared prepared to refuse them service or even throw them out, or even attempt to poison them, which prompted both ninja to confirm they hadn't really followed through on the latter, seeming prepared to throw them out as soon as they walked in, having received similar treatment at the inn they'd stayed at for the duration of their visit. Naruto questioned, deeply skeptical that they would find anyone willing to assist them here, Is there any other place at all we could try visiting that'd be able to make my sword? Furthermore, he believed that even if they were proud of the weapons they produced, it wouldn't really matter if he couldn't find someone who would make zanjetsu for him. Honestly, there isn't any other place that isn't allied with another hidden village, at least not in the elemental nations to my knowledge. The only other option we'd really have would be trying to find a place outside of the shinobi continent. But I doubt the Hokage would approve a trip like that for just a sword to be made. Replied Yugo, making the Uzumaki sigh in annoyance, but nod. Naruto said humbly, you also get the feeling like we've been followed since entering the village. The purplet nodded, but it was barely noticeable. Yugo replied, yeah. It's hard to tell since the few ninja that this place has don't have a lot of chakra. But it does feel like someone's been watching us. Then, the two cautiously surveyed their surroundings and extended their senses to see if anyone else was observing them. Only to scowl when they noticed that nobody was keeping an eye on them from the rooftops or the ground. Additionally, they did not sense any chakra signatures that would indicate someone was following them. Truly hoping that someone would try something foolish, Naruto muttered, I swear it'd be easier and simpler if someone would just try something already. Yugo was powerless to assist her student but nodded in agreement. The two noticed Naruto's substantial chakra reserves and were unaware that a few Takumi ninja were observing them. They could tell the child had more chakra than anyone else they had seen, even without actively sensing it. As they departed to notify the four celestial symbols men, one of the ninja grinned and said, Hoki will want to know about this. Realizing that the ceremony will be able to commence far sooner than they had anticipated. After they had finished their lunch and were strolling through Takumi village when Yugo said, just a few more shops to check, then we'll likely be leaving. Sorry if this turns out to be a wasted trip, Naruto. They were still looking for a blacksmith to make the Uzumaki's sword. The only thing they could do was watch the number of stores they could visit shrink with every rejection they received, knowing that eventually they would run out of options. The purplet giggled a little as Naruto grinned and said, it's fine sensei, at least we were able to get some training done. And who knows, maybe there'll be a mission to another continent we could take, then I'll definitely get a kind sword. Yugo, having witnessed how Naruto could have the best or worst luck in the world, said, knowing your luck, that's honestly a real possibility. However, the two came to a halt when Naruto accidentally ran into a very old man, causing the scruffy ravenet to drop his notebook. The elderly man had a scruffy appearance, with tanned skin, large eyes with pinpoint pupils that appeared to be always open, balding on top of his head, gray hair that remained tied in a topknot, a thin goatee at the end of his chin that appeared to be scorched, and a mustache that appeared to be shaved in the middle. He was barefoot and dressed in a green hori with black horizontal stripes on it and a matching hakama. Not wanting to be accused of attacking an elderly man, Naruto hurriedly said, sorry about that, sir. I didn't watch where I was going. However, the elder then picked up his notebook. The old man said, no problem there youngster, accidents happen. As he started leafing through the notebook and examining the sketches and concepts Naruto had for zanjetsu. The old man nodded slowly at Naruto's statement, this is a mighty fine blade you've designed, unlike any I've seen before, and I've seen quite a few in my time. I take it you came here hoping to have it commissioned. Naruto said, the old man humming in thought, yes, that's what we were hoping for. But so far, every blacksmith we visited has either refused to take the job or just told us to get out. Not surprising. Everyone here hates ninja and would sooner fall on their own weapons before choosing to make one for any ninja, again. Luckily for you, I'm not like everyone else here, if you need a blacksmith then you found one of the best in the world. Said the old man, surprising Naruto and Yugo. Yugo was surprised to learn that the elderly man was a blacksmith and asked, wait, you're a blacksmith? The old man surprised the ninja even more by saying, of course I am. I've made some of the finest blades you could ever hope to see. Ones that could even make those fancy swords in Kiri look like children's toys in comparison. Okay, if you're really willing to accept the job, that'd be great. This is my sensei, Yugo Uzuki, Naruto said, introducing himself because it appeared that the elderly man was particularly curious to know his last name. Yugo greeted the elderly man with a shake of his hand and said, it's nice to meet you sir. To the utter surprise of Naruto and Yugo, Totose replied, you too as well. I am Totose Uzumaki. Why? Yo. You're in, Uzumaki? Naruto exclaimed, shocked that he was actually meeting another Uzumaki. Yugo expressed the same shock, realizing that there weren't many Uzumaki left in the world, and noted that Naruto appeared to already be aware of his clan. Totose nodded. Naruto and Yugo nodded back. Yes, I am. We can talk more at my hut if you two are interested in joining me. Yes, that would be okay, Totose. Where exactly do you live? Yugo inquired as they started to pursue the elderly Uzumaki. Outside the village, since I'm sure you've seen that everyone here don't like ninja. Well, not all the blacksmiths are like that. There are a few who don't hold any ill will towards ninja. Even a few that have ninja affiliated ancestry like myself. But that dislike everyone here has spreads to those few as well, as they're essentially banished from the village and forced to live outside it, only being allowed in on rare occasions. You two are lucky that this was one my rare, allowed, visits. Totose replied, making the Ravenette and Purplet frown at hearing. I don't think they would truly exile blacksmiths for not detesting ninja or people with ninja ancestry, only for their general enmity and spite. Naruto and Yugo expressed their disapproval of the people's lack of flexibility and vision, stating that it seemed as though they had never left Konoha in Naruto's case and had instead followed Totose out of the village. They didn't go far before reaching Totose's hut, where Naruto and Yugo were shocked to see that, instead of a structure, it appeared to be the skull of a massive beast. They also noticed that Totose's forge was constructed inside an open-side area that was next to the skull. Naruto questioned, "You live here? What was it?" not expecting him to reside in the skull of a monstrous creature. Totose exclaimed, "Yep, found it not long after settling down in Takumi and then being banished. As for what it was, no idea, but it's a good place for forging. No wood that would catch fire or stones that'll make everything too hot. It's also really good at keeping away any brats, that and Mo. Mo helps. Speaking of Mo, come here, we have visitors." The two ninja were startled once more when a large brown ox materialized. The ox was astonished to see that it had 3 eyes, 2 normal eyes and 1 on its forehead. Yugo exclaimed in shock and disbelief, not knowing what else the ox could be. Is that a yokai?" Totose patted Mo on the head and said, "That's right, this here is Mo. He's my companion whenever I need to leave the village." Naruto and Yugo shook off their shock and they all went inside his hut, which was much bigger inside than out. Once inside and seated, Naruto said, "Oh, okay, so, about you making my sword. How much will it cost?" as Totose studied Zanjetsu's designs. Totose looked at Naruto and said, not expecting either of them to say this, "For a sword like this, it'd definitely cost a lot, likely more than you'd be able to afford. But for my services, it won't be much, though in exchange for the lowered price, I want you to become my protege." "You want Naruto to be your protege? As payment?" Yugo asked, raising an eyebrow at the prospect of Naruto learning how to make weapons and receiving a discounted sword, both of which would give him a deeper understanding of Zanjetsu and its workings. "Yes. The Uzumaki clan may be known for our longevity, and I've certainly lived much longer than most, even some of my fellow clan members in terms of longevity, but I'm not immortal and I'm getting old. I've been looking for a successor to pass my teachings on to, but haven't found anyone deserving to learn them, until you that is. After all, who better to pass my teachings on to than another Uzumaki?" Totose replied, much to their shock and gratitude, with Naruto nodding in agreement. Naruto bowed his head and said, "Then I accept, I'll become your protege and learn everything you have to teach." Totose stood up and motioned for Naruto to follow him outside, saying, "Great. Then we can get started on teaching you the basics, come with me." Naruto did so. Totose stated that he preferred for Naruto to learn blacksmithing with his own hands rather than using clones to speed up the process. "But the first thing is, since you're from Konoha and can most likely know Shadow Clone Jutsu that Brat Tobarama created, you should know that you won't be using that. Blacksmithing is best learned and used with your own 2 hands, not through memories given to you by clones. In particular, considering how hazardous and challenging the procedure can be, you don't want a clone to unintentionally harm itself from lack of experience, which might result in something breaking or getting damaged and needing to be replaced or fixed, or worse, something starting a fire." Totose would prefer that none of these things occurred when Naruto was still learning. Especially so, considering that he will be imparting to the younger Uzumaki the fire-style ninjutsu that he also employs for forging. As they entered the forge area, Totose started looking through several boxes of materials. Naruto said, "Okay, I can do that. Are we also going to be gathering the materials we need to forge my sword, too? Perhaps some of them, but I already have the main material for it right here. A fragments of my greatest masterpiece, back when its second wielder had broken it against a powerful yokai. While the blade had ultimately been restored and is now in the possession of his elder niece. I did keep some fragments of it as a potential forging material when I was repairing it, and with the sword you want made, it'll be perfect. Totose said before pulling out a long case and set it down before opening it up. Naruto appeared astonished upon spotting what appeared to be a piece of a once large sword, and he could tell immediately that it was a masterpiece based only on the fragment. Totose said, "Now then, let's get started," and Naruto nodded in agreement. As Satsuki was cleaning the blue net's back, she said, "Hinata, if you're uncomfortable just say something and I'll stop." The Uchiha and Hyuga were in the bathroom right now, and to the former's embarrassment, they were both naked and so close to each other. Hinata was sitting on a stool beneath the showerhead, and Satsuki was kneeling behind her. "Why? Yo. You're fine, Satsuki. I'm just getting used to this," Hinata answered, still getting used to Satsuki's lack of guilt and disdain for taboos surrounding nudity. When she first moved in with Satsuki, she was horrified, ashamed, and shocked to see the Uchiha would undress or change clothes in front of her. In addition, Hinata entered the room while she was getting ready and pretended everything was fine. However, Hinata soon discovered that Satsuki didn't find it particularly problematic. The blue net attempted to explain it, but the Uchiha just ignored it. Fortunately, Hinata began to grow accustomed to it gradually and no longer felt embarrassed when Satsuki would undress in front of her or enter her room while she was changing. She was still embarrassed, though, especially after Satsuki had interrupted her earlier. Retrospective. After taking off her clothes and enjoying the sensation of hot water running down her body after a demanding day of training and working at the hospital, Hinata sighed contentedly as she stood in the shower, wanting to fill the bath before getting her body wet. Before then, her mind went to the training she and Satsuki had completed, both in terms of learning medical ninjutsu and their regular training. The Ravenet has become proficient in chakra control to the point where she is practicing it with her. Hinata was happy that they could practice together and that Satsuki was able to advance because they could begin earlier than her. After taking a few days off following their mission, they returned to their regular training with Kakashi and Yamato in addition to their medical ninjutsu training. Having practiced developing both their taijutsu and their knowledge of ninjutsu, the Hyuga persisted in her efforts to enhance the range that her Byakugan can see and to incorporate her elemental affinities into her Juken. Satsuki focused on honing her aim with their bow form and learning the Nitoryu style for her swords. She also wanted to add the ninjutsu and genjutsu she discovered in her clan's library to her fighting style to see if they could be enhanced. Hinata speculated, "I think Satsuki might be close to unlocking her Sharingan, considering that Satsuki had targets set up that moved and swung, and she was getting better and better at hitting them every time." "Do you want me to wash your back? Eep?" Hinata let out as she was startled out of her reverie by Satsuki's voice, and she blushed shamefully and embarrassedly when she realized the Uchiha was in the restroom. Satsuki. WH. 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 What are you doing?" exclaimed Hinata, covering her crotch and breasts with haste as Satsuki started undressing without seeming alarmed. Hinata became increasingly embarrassed as Satsuki responded, taking off her shirt and bra. "I just got back from some last-minute training and heard the water running. So I figured we could save time by just bathing together and helping wash each other." Hinata thought, me and Satsuki. Bathing together. Naked. Touching, not helping the fact that Satsuki had taken off her spandex shorts and skirt. She felt as though her whole face was probably glowing red by this point. As she stepped into the shower, completely nude and sighing at the sensation of the water hitting her body, the Ravenet asked Satsuki, "Well? Do you want me to wash your back?" "All right." Hinata stumbled, nodding numbly, unsure of what more to say or do but agreeing. Final flashback. Following their shower, they both started lathering their bodies. However, the blue net's embarrassment was soon restored when Satsuki moved behind her and started using a washcloth to clean her back. Though Hinata couldn't deny that she kind of enjoyed the way the Uchiha's hands moved over her body. "Eep!" let out Hinata as Satsuki abruptly propelled her to her feet, lifted her leg into the air, causing Hinata to stagger a little and put her hands on the wall. Saw. Satsuki! exclaimed Hinata, feeling even more embarrassed as Satsuki started massaging and cleaning her leg. When Satsuki's hands moved up Hinata's thigh and dangerously near her crotch, Hinata bit her lip in response. "Just wanting to help you get clean as much as I can, Hinata," Satsuki expressed. "That's fine. I can wash the rest," Hinata exclaimed, but she was startled when Satsuki's hands moved from her leg to her stomach, massaging and rubbing. Not content to stop there, Satsuki moved to stand behind Hinata and seized both of her breasts, squeezing them while simultaneously lathering them. The Ravenette's eye twitched, indicating that Hinata's breasts were even larger than she had previously perceived. What makes them so large? Satsuki thought, jealously stroking Hinata's breasts and detesting their size in comparison to her own. Hinata, not believing what her teammate was doing, couldn't help but moan as Satsuki touched or lathered her breasts. Hinata cried out, "Satsuki, please stop," but then moaned once more as Satsuki's hands went over her nipples and squeezed her breasts once more. Satsuki questioned Hinata's breast size, asking how her own breasts could be almost D cups in comparison. "Why are your boobs so big?" she exclaimed. Hinata moaned, "What? Oh, hhhh," as the Uchiha pressed her breasts together. Satsuki exclaimed, "Tell me how you got your boobs so big. Is it anything you eat, training? What is it?" As Hinata began to feel dizzy from playing with her breasts and Satsuki's comments. Hinata stammered and recalled her mother telling her before she passed away that Hyuga women are naturally gifted in certain areas. Just good genes. That's what my Ka-san told me. Hinata initially took that to mean they were just exceptionally powerful, but she soon realized it also meant they were early bloomers. Having previously encountered a few other female Hyuga in the hot spring and inadvertently stumbled upon a few in their undressed states, I was struck by how advanced they were all. To her embarrassment, Satsuki could not help but groan with annoyance as she continued to lather and grope Hinata's breasts, showing no signs of stopping. Sorry about getting carried away, like that," Satsuki said as she and Hinata finished getting ready and were now sitting in the bathtub together, just lounging and soaking in the water. After giving up on touching her friend's chest, the Ravenette snapped out of her jealousy over Hinata's more mature figure. Before they had finished washing each other's bodies, much to Hinata's relief and slight disappointment. "It's F.Fi. Fine. N.No harm done," Hinata responded, grinning at Satsuki, who smiled back before the Uchiha scowled. Satsuki asked, "What do you think is taking Naruto and Yugo Sensei so long?" which made Hinata frown anxiously as well. "I don't really know. They should have been back a while ago, but now," Hinata replied. "It should not have taken them this long to return. It's been over 3 weeks, almost 4, since they left," Satsuki said, perplexed. Satsuki nodded in agreement as Hinata said, "Yeah. But maybe they've been having trouble finding a blacksmith to make the sword since Takumi village doesn't really like ninja, so they could be having trouble finding someone who'll make it. Or it's just taking longer than expected to make the sword." Hinata thought that might be the reason they've been stuck for so long. Satsuki, drawing her legs up to her chest, said, "Probably. I just really miss him. While there have been times where we haven't hung out much, we could still go see each other if we wanted. Now, I can't deny I'm actually worried that something might have happened and we'd have no way of knowing." She didn't want to think about losing anyone else she cared about and being powerless to stop it. Hinata interrupted herself, "I know. I'm worried too, that I've finally been able to spend time with Naruto-kun, but that something could happen to him before I." To which Satsuki simply gave her a sidelong glance. The brunette blushed and turned her head away as Satsuki said, "Before you can tell him you love him. S.So. Sorry," Hinata responded, aware that Satsuki harbored feelings for Naruto as well and that she didn't want to jeopardize their friendship by telling him about them. Satsuki smiled and said, "Why are you sorry? I'm not angry since I understand why you love him. I love Naruto too. He's kind, caring, would do anything for the people close to him, never gives up on anything, and he has a way of helping people when they need it the most." Hinata grinned as well. "Yeah. He's really special," Hinata remarked before blushing brightly at Satsuki's subsequent remarks. Satsuki said with a suggestive smirk as the brunette's face flushed, "It also helps that before he was already good-looking with his unique features, with an added cute factor from his whisker marks. Now though he looks really hot dressed in black and having a feral look that makes you feel hot yourself, right?" "Yeah, Hinata muttered, unable to shake the feeling that Naruto's new appearance gave her whenever her thoughts wandered. Hinata looked at Satsuki startled, but she continued, "So, we both like him. We're both friends and I doubt either of us would want to end our friendship just because we like the same guy. Instead, what do you think about sharing him?" "Shish. Sharing him," exclaimed Hinata, surprised that Satsuki had made such a suggestion. The Uchiha shrugged in reply. Satsuki said, "Yeah, it seems obvious. That way we're both happy with the guy we like, and with the life he's lived. Wouldn't Naruto-kun deserve as much love as he can get? I also won't deny that I'm attracted to you, either. Besides, we also saw how Kanoka acts around him, and how Moegi is likely starting to develop feelings for him as well. Not to mention Fu, who understands what he's been through better than any of us. You really think that there won't be other girls that end up falling for him?" said Satsuki, not surprised if Naruto ends up unintentionally charming other girls he meets just by talking to them or aiding them. Hinata was initially taken aback by Satsuki's suggestion to share Naruto, but after giving it some thought, she acknowledged that Satsuki was correct. If more girls end up falling for the whiskered ravenet, that wouldn't be shocking. Hinata wasn't sure whether to share, but if they really cared about Naruto, she wouldn't want to deny any of them the opportunity to be with him, since she wouldn't want to miss out on her own opportunity to be with him either. Hinata thought, blushing and with a confused expression in her eyes, it might even be more fun. She imagined herself, Naruto, and Satsuki together, and then other girls started to appear with him. She quickly shook her head and turned to face Satsuki. Hinata smiled at the ravenet and said, "If you're okay with sharing Naruto-kun, then I am too. And I think you're really pretty too, Satsuki-chan." Satsuki grinned and added, "I'm glad to hear it, Hinata-chan. And I'm sure we'll be having plenty of fun together." She then giggled at the Hyuga's flushed face. The two girls felt pleased and satisfied with everything they had discussed and the choice they had made as they started to unwind and enjoy the warm water. Temple of Later Fire. Unbeknownst to the people of Konoha, Orochimaru and the Sound Five attacked the Fire Temple after dark. All of whom, like Kimimaro, possessed a curse seal. Additionally, Orochimaru's other group, which he had enlisted in his scheme to destroy Konoha, was lending support to them. An irate Sound 5 member exclaimed, "Why the fuck are we even here? Kimimaro's basically doing everything himself and we're just left dealing with a few shitty monks." The shortest of the Sound 5, she was a fair-skinned girl with a thin build and a rather short stature. She usually had a neutral expression on her face and had brown eyes that were accentuated by her eyelashes extending into the corners of her eyes. Her long, wild, dark red hair, which falls past her shoulders and has long, parted bangs framing each side of her face and one in between her eyes, is what makes her most recognizable. Her curse seal is applied to the back of her neck, hidden by her hair, in the shape of a triskelion with 3 circular hooks. She wore black skin, tight shorts and a tan tunic with elbow-length sleeves that featured the Sound 4's emblem on the hem. Her attire consisted of black arm warmers, classic black shinobi sandals, bandaged leg warmers that reached her calves, and a purple belt that resembled rope and was fastened around her waist in an inverted bow. She also wore a black hat with bandaged sides and pipe-like stripes to keep her wild hair out of the way. This kept her bangs in place while the rest of her hair was pushed back behind her ears and trailed down her back. This was the lone female Sound 5 member, Tayuya of the North Gate. At the moment, Tayuya is using her flute to direct her Doki summons to attack any ninja monks who attempted to approach her or entangle themselves in her genjutsu. Tayuya, a lady, shouldn't swear that much, nor should you question Orochimaru-sama's orders. If he wants us here, then there's nothing to say. Another member of the Sound 5 responded. They were the tallest member of the Sound 5, a big, burly man who loomed over the other members of his team. He was described as having fair skin and narrowed, slanted orange eyes, and a grim expression most of the time. He had 3 tufts of orange hair on his head, 2 similarly styled tufts at the side and a sort of mohawk down the middle. With him donning a pair of black, 3/4 length pants that ended just below his knees and a beige, sleeveless tunic with the Sound 4's emblem on the hem. He wore long, metallic pieces separated by red circular pieces for a necklace, and he wore black arm warmers. In addition, he wore traditional black shinobi sandals, a purple rope-like belt tied around his waist in an inverted bow, and bandaged mid-calf leg warmers. Jirobo of the South Gate was this person. Earth-style barrier. Earth Dome Prison! Exclaimed Jirobo, completing a series of hand signs before enveloping a group of monks in an earthen dome and drawing upon their chakra. Tayuya shot back, pointing to the area where Kimimaro was fighting. I ain't questioning shit, fat ass. I just don't like to waste my time when we clearly aren't needed. See? At the same moment that dozens of bone spikes shot out of the ground, impaling several monks at once. The Kaguya's now acid blood, which covered his bones, is melting away from those who are unfortunate enough to be alive. I mean, she's not wrong. We're basically just picking of stragglers and making sure Kimimaro doesn't end up killing everyone, since Orochimaru Sama wants at least some alive to be used. Another member of the Sound Five responded. They were a dark-skinned shinobi with black eyes and black, shaggy hair pulled back into a ponytail. He was the second tallest of the Sound Five and always had a self-assured smile. In addition to his unusual features, he possessed 6 arms and an eye on his forehead, which was typically closed and hidden beneath his black Otogakure forehead protector. Wearing black skin, tight shorts and a gray tunic with the Sound Five's emblem hemmed on it, he was dressed in a sleeveless black shirt. He had on black arm warmers, classic black shinobi sandals with bandaged leg warmers that reached his calves, and a purple belt that resembled rope that was fastened around his waist in the shape of an inverted bow. Kidamaru of the East Gate was this person. With his bow in hand, Kidamaru was riding his personal summons, Kyodaigumo, and he was shooting arrows at the monks in an attempt to kill or maim them. As Kyodaigumo roamed the temple, she spun a massive web that ensnared any monks inside its cocoons. The last member of the Sound Five, wearing a scowl, said, "Who cares, let's just get this over with already." He had fair skin, straight, light blue, gray hair, green lipstick, long bangs that hid his right eye, and dark circles around his eyes that gave them an androgynous look. And a curse seal, hidden by their bangs, was placed just above his eye on his forehead. His outfit consisted of a long, sleeved brown tunic with the Sound Five symbol embroidered on the hem, a black shirt underneath, black skin, tight shorts, black arm warmers that are mistaken for sleeves, traditional black shinobi sandals with bandaged calf length leg warmers, and a purple, rope-like belt around their waists tied in an inverted bow. In addition, he carried a massive scroll behind his back through one of the loops on his belt that resembled a rope, and he wore a dark red beaded necklace around his neck. They were distinct, though, in that they had a second head growing out of the nape of their neck that resembled his own save for the curse seal and bangs on the other side of their faces. Because of their Kekkei Genkei, which allows them to fuse their bodies, the head is his twin brother. This was the former leader of the Sound Five. It had started out as the Sound Four due to Kimimaro's illness being too severe for him to continue in the field. Saken and Yukon of the West Gate. However, Kimimaro has taken back his leadership role as a result of his improved health and strength. Something Saken detested because it meant he was no longer the Sound Five's strongest or fastest member. And realizing that there was nothing he could do because of Kimimaro's devotion to Orochimaru and his refusal to allow anyone to dare doubt the Snake Sanin. Saken grimaced and delivered a blow to the monk's head with increased force as Yukon's arms extended to deliver a triple punch that sent the monk hurtling backward and colliding with a wall. Prior to whirling around and extending his leg, Yukon also extended his legs, striking the 3 monks who were coming at the twins from behind with their 3 legs. Tayuya rolled her eyes and said, yeah, boo. Fuckity.who, you aren't top bitch, anymore. Go shove your other head up your ass, fuckface. She was sick of Saken whining that he wasn't the leader anymore. Jirobo said, Tayuya, ladies shouldn't. Someone cried out, Beast Wave Palm. Just as Wind Chakra's blades shot through the air, slamming into Jirobo and knocking him back. A great deal of Wind Chakra condensed into the form of a demonic claw crashed down on top of Kidamaru and Kyodaigumo, smashing them into the ground and being strong enough to dispel the spider summon. Beast Wave Gale Palm. The person yelled. Who the fuck is it now? Tayuya exclaimed, starting to play her flute. She then directed her doki to attack the assailant and cast a broad genjutsu on them. Someone exclaimed, that would be us. Welcoming approach. 1,000. Armed murder. Just as 1,000 bright red chakra fists erupted, hitting the Sound Five members with blow after blow until they were knocked unconscious. They could hardly make out that their assailants were 2 more monks, though they appeared to be considerably more powerful. The first had dark eyes and extremely thick eyebrows, and the man was bald. He went barefoot and dressed in the traditional ninja monk garb, complete with the sash that the 12 Guardia Ninja group wears. At the moment, a gold-colored chakra avatar is encircling him. And the other was a small child with brown eyes, straight shoulder-length hair that was dull and bluish, gray and asymmetrically styled with a single lock falling into his face. He had a Kakashi shuko on his left hand and was dressed in the traditional monastic garb, complete with sandals and a long right sleeve. "Let me finish them, Chiriku," the child exclaimed, raising his claws to reveal their glowing chakra before charging at the Sound Five, who were pinned by Chiriku's blows. Chiriku exclaimed, "No, Sora. The others need your help. Find anyone you can and get them out of the temple, now," realizing that Sora was in no position to repel these much more powerful attackers. However, Sora remarked. Someone exclaimed, "Wind style. Shikuho Twister," just before a sizable twister struck Sora and Chiriku in the backs, sending Sora hurtling into a temple pillar while Chiriku's avatar shielded him from the twister. Chiriku scowled at the sight of another attack and exclaimed, "Another?" The man who had attacked her was tall, with a tanned complexion, exhausted looking white hair, brown eyes, and a long, pale scar running diagonally across his face. With him carrying a Shikuho staff and dressed in a purple kippao-like garment lined with yellow, blue, and gray sandals. The man smirked and said, "Sorry for the interruption, but I couldn't pass up the chance for such a long-awaited reunion." He then raised his Shikuho to block Sora's claws when he attempted to slash him. Sora slashed his claws at the man, saying, "If you're talking about your friends that attacked the temple, then you can reunite with them when you're all dead." But each time the man smirked, the attack was blocked. Sora froze and gave him a wide-eyed look as the man said, "I was actually talking about reuniting with my son. I haven't seen him in years. And I can see you've grown very strong, Sora." Sora demanded, "What did you just say? What did you say?" as Chiriku stared at the man with wide eyes of shock. Chiriku exclaimed in shock and disbelief, No, it can't be. Kazuma?" He hardly recognized his erstwhile friend and comrade. "I've actually been going by Furito recently, but yeah, it's me. And it's nice to finally see you again after so many years, Sora." Kazuma replied with a grin. San, but you were dead. I was told you were killed." "You aren't my father," Sora yelled, glaring at Kazuma, intending to kill this imposter for posing as his father, but Kazuma easily deflected his blows. With tears in his eyes, Sora continued to attack Kazuma, saying, "I assure you, I am your father Sora. You remember how I always took pride in my appearance and abilities, never letting so much as a stain get on my sash. I'm still me, Sora, I swear." "Then where were you? Why didn't you ever come back?" exclaimed Sora, curious as to why, if his father was still alive, he had never returned. "It's because I couldn't. I'm sure you were told how I was a traitor, that I tried staging a coup against the Fire Daimyo. But the truth is I love the Land of Fire and would do anything to protect it, and ensure that it's led by the rightful ruler, which is the Daimyo. But the Land of Fire could never be whole as long as Konoha and the Hokage exist. I wanted to liberate the Land of Fire and free it, so that control could be returned to the true king, not divided between the Daimyo and a cage." Kazuma revealed this to Sora, retaliating against Chiriku. "Be silent, Kazuma. Stop filling his head with lies. You became nothing but a radical and a maniac that tried killing the Fire Daimyo," Chiriku said while staring at Kazuma. Sora looked between Kazuma and Asuma as Kazuma shot back, "I was trying to save the Daimyo from you, Asuma, and the others. You were the ones that betrayed me and left me for dead." Sora bellowed, "What's he talking about, Chiriku? Who's Asuma?" "Asuma Sarutobi, the son of the current Hokage, and the one who gave me this scar. He intended for it to kill me, but I survived and went into hiding. I knew I couldn't do anything with the rest of my allies dead, but I could still live and save the Land of Fire from their plans to overthrow the Daimyo. That's why you have that arm, Sora. Asuma, Chiriku, and the Hokage, they all infused you with remnants of the Kyuubi's chakra 2 years after it attacked. They plan to use you as their weapon against the Daimyo and take control of the Land of Fire for Konoha," revealed. Chiriku yelled, "Stop it, Kazuma. Haven't you heard Sora enough? as he sent Kazuma reeling back and producing another twister to block the fists, only for the two attacks to collide nonetheless. The only one hurting him is you, Chiriku. I love my son and came back to save him from your schemes. I found new allies to help get revenge on Konoha and the entire Hidden Village system for what it's done. And we can do it together, Sora. Join me and we can set things right, the way they're supposed to be. We can free the land of fire from Konoha. Together with Orochimaru, we'll both have our revenge. Kazuma was looking at his child. Don't listen to him, Sora. The man you called father is gone. All he's trying to do is manipulate you. He's the one that, said Chiriku. Shut up. Sora yelled, his right arm's bandages falling off to reveal the demonic, beastly arm that had emerged, red chakra bubbling around him. Before the monk could react, Sora drove his claws into Chiriku's chest, causing him to gasp in agony. So, Sora, D.Do. Don't, Chiriku uttered, but Sora cut his head off his shoulders with a vicious swing of his arm. Sora growled, I said shut up, before collapsing to his knees, holding his arm in agony, and looking up at his father when Kazuma gave him a pat on the head. Kazuma grinned at his son and helped him stand up. You did good, Sora. You freed yourself from the lies and manipulations of those you thought you could trust, just as I did. And soon we'll free the rest of the world as well. Sora nodded in agreement as Kazuma said, now come on, we've still got work to do and you'll be meeting my new team and our allies. Sora was eager to exact revenge on those who had taken advantage of and manipulated him. Orochimaru stood smirking above the gates, watching as Kazuma's group and the Sound Five killed everyone, while the rest of his forces plundered anything of value from the temple and captured those who remained alive for his experiments. Kasuma's team, Suna and Taki, when combined with Kimimaro's newly acquired ability, Konoha won't exist for very long. And then, Orochimaru thought, putting his hand to his face and laughing wickedly. With great anticipation for what lay ahead from everything he was putting in motion, Orochimaru declared, the world will no longer be still, and I shall be relieved of my boredom. Time. Skip. 1 day. Office of the Hokage. After calling teams 7 and 10 to his office to discuss the news of the Fire Temple's destruction, Hiruzen said, I've just received word, the Fire Temple has been attacked and destroyed. Given how strong the sealed iron wall is and that nothing could breach it, Kakashi exclaimed in shock, the Fire Temple was attacked? Someone managed to get past the sealed iron wall? Asuma muttered, Chiriku, worried for his friend and former comrade's safety as well as being shocked and horrified to hear that the Fire Temple had been attacked and destroyed. The Sandaime, aware of how much his son meant to his remaining friend from the 12 Guardian Ninja, cast him a worried look. Hokage. Sama, what's the Fire Temple exactly? Questioned Shoji, with the other genin also being curious of what the Fire Temple was. It's where ninja monks trained themselves to combat, seal, and defeat yokai and other such supernatural creatures. They utilize a special ability known as the Gift of the Hermit Group. And while it's rare, they also have priestesses.in training that become Maikos, Kakashi clarified. Hiruzen said, yes, it's true that we don't know who is to blame right now. That's why I'm sending you all to look into what happened, collect any evidence of potential attackers, and try to find any survivors. Both teams nodded in agreement. Asuma said, understood Hokage. Sama, we'll set out right away. They wanted to reach the Fire Temple as soon as possible in order to see if anyone had survived and, ideally, to learn what had happened. Good, dismissed. Sarutobi said, and both groups departed to get ready for their journey to the Fire Temple. After, the teams barely had time to prepare and assemble at the gate before they leapt into the trees and started heading toward the Fire Temple. Kakashi kept glancing at Asuma, noting how, despite knowing that he would normally have a cigarette out by now, he didn't even try to take one out. Even though Kakashi was aware of Chiriku's friendship and stressed his concern for a friend, he wasn't shocked. Kakashi asked, are you gonna be alright, Asuma? And Asuma gave him a quick glance before turning to face forward. Asuma said, I'll be fine. The copy ninja gave a slow nod in reply before letting out a sigh. Okay. But keep in mind, whatever we find, it may not be what you want to see, and if the worst happened, I'm here if you want to talk. Take it from someone who's been there, it's never good to keep your emotions bottled up or closing yourself off. Kakashi replied with a nod of approval. Asuma nodded and they continued their journey, with Kakashi acknowledging, thanks Kakashi, and I'll probably take the offer, later. But right now, I just want to focus on getting to the fire temple. After. The ninja were horrified to see what was left of the once grand temple when they arrived at the fire temple and climbed the stairs to the top. As Ino saw the devastation all around them and the monks' bodies, some of which appeared to have been torn apart, she muttered, "Oh Kami," in terror. Asuma exclaimed, "Damn it," as he looked around and saw no sign of Chiriku. If he had been alive, he would have remained here, still looking for survivors. "Are you all right, Satsuki?" Hinata asked, looked at her teammate in concern with she stood frozen in place, before the Uchiha shook her head. "Fine, I'm fine, thanks, Hinata," replied Satsuki, the sight having momentarily triggered her PTSD from the night of the massacre from all the destruction and death they saw. "Everyone start searching for clues on what could have happened here, and look for any survivors. Hinata, use your Byakugan to see through any rubble," said Kakashi, snapping out of his shocked state, with the genin nodding as they moved to start searching the ruins for clues and survivors. Looking through the ruins, Kakashi and Asuma noticed some things as they looked, one of the most noticeable being the white spikes that seemed to be protruding from the ground. "Is that bone?" Asuma said as they looked at them closely, with Kakashi frowning as they grabbed one, grunting as he tried breaking a piece off. "It looks like it, and it's a lot stronger than any normal bones," Kakashi replied. "Could it be a Keke Genkai?" said Asuma, pulling out his trench knives and tried cutting it, surprised that it barely got halfway through, even with wind chakra. "Most likely. I've only heard of one clan with the Keke Genkai to manipulate their bones, the Kagaya clan. But they were wiped out years ago after trying to attack Kirigakure, while their Keke Genkai is supposed to only awaken in a select few clan members," Kakashi said with a frown before he noticed something on the ground. "Well, it looks like one is still alive and they aren't friendly," Asuma stated before looking at Kakashi when he tossed him something. "Even worse, it looks they have ties to Orochimaru," said Kakashi gravely, with Asuma looking at the object, seeing it's a headband with a music note on the metal plate, making his eyes widen. Having heard rumors of a new hidden village being created a few years ago in the land of rice, now called the land of sound, Otogakure. But what's worrying were the recent rumors that Orochimaru may also have ties to its creations, but no actual proof that he did create Otogakure. Why would Orochimaru want to attack the fire temple? And who could have helped him? Questioned Asuma, doubting just Orochimaru and any followers he had were responsible for this, that they must have had help from others. Even worse was that knowing Orochimaru and the twisted experiments he performs, there's really no way for him to know if Chiriku is alive or dead. Knowing Orochimaru, it won't be good for anyone, Kakashi said before they kept searching, hoping to find anything else to learn about who else was responsible for this. With Satsuki and Hinata. Satsuki and Hinata, meanwhile, were searching another part of the temple, with the Hyuga having her Byakugan activated to see through the rubble for any survivors. Being sure to look carefully at everything she saw, not wanting to risk overlooking anything. "Satsuki. I see someone, over there," said Hinata when she spotted a chakra signature under some rubble, getting the Ravenette's attention at where she was looking before the two girls ran over. After clearing the debris, the genin discovered a person unconscious and motionless on the ground, but fortunately still alive. The person was a rather beautiful young woman, looking 13 years old like them, maybe a year older, with somewhat pale skin and long, wavy black hair that looked to have a blue tint in certain lighting. With her wearing the traditional Miko attire, consisting of scarlet red hakama, a white haori, and tabi sandals. Though her clothes had some rips and tears in it, while bruises and cuts covered her body. Acting quickly, Satsuki and Hinata made hand seals before holding their hands over the girl, with green chakra surrounding their hands as they used the limited medical ninjutsu they knew to help her. Relieved to see her injuries were slowly beginning to heal and fade away, before seeing the girl's eyes began fluttering open, revealing they were brown-colored. What ha? The girl muttered before her eyes widened in panic at seeing Satsuki and Hinata hovering over her. Making the girl scream and quickly sat up to try and run from them, thinking that they were more invaders or with the ones that had attacked. Only to collapse back to the ground moaning in pain from the injuries that weren't fully healed, making her even more terrified that she couldn't escape. "Hey, easy, you're still injured, and we're not here to hurt you or with those that attacks the temple," Satsuki said assuredly, making the girl look at them warily before noticing their headbands and calmed down. You're from Konoha," said the girl, seeing that they weren't enemies and had been sent from Konoha. Yes, we are. I'm Hinata Hyuga, this is my teammate, Satsuki Uchiha. We were sent here by the Hokage after getting word the fire temple had been attacked, to try and find clues to who attacked and help any survivors. Replied Hinata, and Satsuki nodded in agreement. What's your name? And what were you doing at the fire temple? Questioned Satsuki, seeing the girl had calmed down and would hopefully be able to tell them what happened and anything she saw. Kagome Higurashi. I'm a priestess.in. Training, and Kagome introduced before she began breathing heavily as she recalled what happened last night, everyone that died, how they'd been slaughtered. Easy, you're safe now, Kagome. We promise. We just want to help and find out what happened here, alright? Hinata said, smiling comfortingly at the Ravenet, with Kagome nodding shakily in response. Okay. Now could you Tay? Satsuki said, wanting to ask her what happened, only to be interrupted by a loud crash. Human bullet tank. The three girls instantly looked towards where the crash and shout came from, before the genin helped Kagome stand up. With them then running off towards the commotion, recognizing Choji's voice and the technique he used. Making them wonder if some of the invaders stayed behind to deal with any survivors, or if scavengers showed up to try taking anything left behind. Though when they arrived, they found Shikamaru, Choji, and Ino fighting against a teenage girl, holding what looked like a glowing blue sword made of pure energy. The girl looked to be around the same age as Kagome, with fair skin, short silver hair with a streak of red in one of her bangs, and magenta eyes. With her wearing rather strange clothing consisting of a light purplish graphite buttoned dress shirt with a paradise pink ribbon underneath a white blazer with violet accents and golden buttons, matching white pants attached to a brown belt with a golden buckle, white socks, and brown boots. With her also having another sword sheathed on her back. Azure Dragon Wave. The girl yelled, swinging her sword, unleashing a wave of energy that took the shape of a serpentine dragon with red eyes. With the dragon roaring as it slammed into Choji and sent him flying back, embedding the Akamichi air in the wall around the temple's ruins. Shadow Possession Jutsu, said Shikamaru, quickly making a hand sign as his shadow rushed towards the girl, only for her to jump back into the air. Okay. You guys are really starting to annoy me, said the girl as her energy sword vanished, revealing just a broken blade, before grabbed the sword on her back and pulled it out. Revealing it to be a rather battered-looking katana, being heavily chipped and rusted, making it doubtful it could even cut anything. Now I'm ending this, the girl said, holding out the sword as it began glowing and transforming into something much bigger. Toa! Yelled Kagome, recognizing the girl and the sword she had. With the sudden shout making the genin and the now named Toa stop, with the silverette looking at Kagome in surprise and relief, while her sword stopped its transformation and was returned to its sheath. Toa ran over to Kagome and gave her a hug, which Kagome gladly gave back. Kagome! Thank goodness you're alright, Toa exclaimed. Satsuki. Hinata, careful, that girl came out of nowhere and attacked us, Ino called out as she and her teammates still looked ready to fight, while Toa pulled back and narrowed her eyes at them. Toa shot back, muttering the last part to herself, because you three attacked me. First, you're lucky, I couldn't use my full power with us being on holy ground. She was furious that they had attacked her and were now accusing her of instigating the conflict. Well, how are we supposed to know you aren't with the people who attacked in the first place and was just returning to kill anyone that survived? Or some scavenger that wants to loot the temple, said Ino. Everyone fell silent when Satsuki yelled, quiet. Then, when Kakashi and Asuma appeared, everyone turned to face them. We heard the shouting, what happened? Said Asuma, looking around any sign of who they could be fighting, only to look at Kagome and Toa upon spotting them. Looking at the genin, it appears that you were able to locate some survivors. Who are they? Kakashi inquired. Actually, we only found Kagome, there. We were going to ask her anything that she knew or saw from the attack, but then we heard a commotion and found the others fighting this girl. We don't know who she is, but Kagome seems to know her, replied Hinata, making the Jonin look at Kagome. Yeah, I do know her. Her name's Toa, she's my older sister's and brother.in. Law's niece. Toa, what are you even doing here? Kagome asked while looking at her. I came to see if you were alright. After we heard about the attack on the fire temple, we wanted to make sure nothing happened to you. And I'm glad to see you're alive. Toa replied, making Kagome smile and nod. Thank you for coming, and if it wasn't for these Konoha ninja, I'm not sure if I'd have lasted much longer. said Kagome as she nodded to Satsuki and Hinata, with Toa looking at them and bowing in thanks. Then you have mine, and our family's, thanks for saving Kagome, said Toa, before Team 10 went up to her. I guess we should apologize then, if you aren't an enemy or scavenger. We're sorry for jumping to any conclusions when we saw you, and then attacking you, Ino said, willing to admit they acted without thinking who she could actually be. Yeah, sorry about that, added Shoji, with Shikamaru sighing tiredly. That was so troublesome and such a waste of time, but yeah, sorry, said Shikamaru. Okay. So, Kagome is it? Can you tell us what happened here? Kakashi asked as they all looked at the Ravenet, who shivered at remembering what happened. It happened just last night when we were attacked. The attack was led by Orochimaru and his followers. The strongest were 5 ninja that all had special abilities, with the most dangerous one being this guy who could manipulate his bones and seemed to have blood that melted anything it touched. But there was another group that was helping them. There were only 4, but all of them were really strong. Though it was the leader of the other group. He said his name was Kazuma from the 12 Guardian Ninja. Kagome disclosed, causing Asuma to look at her with gaze. Kazuma. No, that's impossible. Kazuma's dead, said Asuma, shaking his head in denial, only for Kagome to shake her head, along with recognizing who Asuma was. It's true, he had a scar on his face that he said you gave to him. He turned Sora against the Fire Temple, claiming that you, Shuriku and the Hokage sealed fragments of the Kyuubi's chakra in him, something that ended up mutating his right arm to look beastly and demonic. That you wanted to use him as a weapon against the Fire Daimyo. Sora believed him and he killed Shuriku himself, before he then helped them kill everyone before leaving. They also took Shuriku's body with them when they left, said Kagome, looking down in sadness, while the others were shocked to hear this. Though Satsuki and Hinata looked at each other worriedly at hearing this, Sora kid had some of the Kyuubi's chakra sealed in him. Asuma staggered back, experiencing a range of emotions, primarily regret, anger, guilt, and disgust at the thought that Kazuma was still alive and would use his own son as a tool to turn against his peers and murder Shuriku. Kazuma, I swear I'll finish the job the next time I see you, Asuma mentally vowed, not willing to pardon Kazuma for such an act, realizing that the friend he had once considered to be truly gone. Kakashi inquired, was there anything else, Kagome? Being aware of the potential danger if Orochimaru now had a pseudo Jinchuriki with him. With a shiver, Kagome said, no, I had been knocked unconscious when some debris fell on me, so I didn't see or hear anything else that happened. I was just lucky that no one found me or they thought I was dead. She knew she was lucky that Tawa's hand was on her shoulder and that she could have easily been killed or worse. Kagome nodded in agreement as Toa said, if you're feeling good enough, I'll take you back to Uncle Inuyasha and Aunt Kikyo. I'm sure they'll be relieved to know you're alright. Kagome grinned at Satsuki and Hinata and said, yeah, that'd be great. I could use some time to rest after everything. Thank you again for your help. As they waved to Kagome and Toa as they departed, Satsuki said, no problem, I'm just glad we got here when we did. After they were gone, Kakashi sighed and turned to look around. He didn't think they would find any more survivors because they had already discovered all the information they needed to figure out who had done this. As they left the temple's ruins, Asuma nodded in agreement and Kakashi said, let's get back to the village, we need to let the Hokage know what's happened. While all of this was going on, the two Jonin couldn't help but worry about what Orochimaru might be planning that would require such a drastic action. All that is known is that, whatever it is, it will undoubtedly be something significant. With Yugo and Naruto back at Todosai's hut, in the meantime, Naruto had spent several weeks learning everything there was to know about blacksmithing and fuinjutsu from his fellow Uzumaki. As of right now, the whiskered Ravenet is displaying to Totosei a finished sword for inspection to determine whether it is good enough. Totosei nodded when he removed a hair and dropped it onto the sword's edge, saying, now deformities, good weight and balance. The hair was then cut in half. Totosei said, causing Naruto to nod appreciatively and smile broadly. And a razor-sharp edge. You have certainly come far, Naruto. I can say you've learned everything I have to teach you about fuinjutsu and blacksmithing. The only way to get any better is to simply get experience. Naruto responded with a brief bow, thank you, Totosei. I'll make sure to keep improving on everything you've taught me. To the younger Uzumaki's delight at being able to start work on Zanjetsu at last, Totosei said, I'm sure you will. But there's still one final test for you to complete, it's time for you to forge Zangetsu, yourself. Yugo was standing to one side, grinning at Naruto's eagerness to start making his own blade. The purplet, however, couldn't help but frown as she surveyed the area surrounding Todosai's hut. She wasn't sure if it was Anbu's intuition or the unwelcoming environment they encountered in Takumi Village, but she had the uneasy feeling that they were being watched all the time. I have a feeling that our peaceful departure will not be possible. I hope you become proficient with your sword soon, Naruto. Yugo thought to himself, unable to suppress the feeling that they would have to battle their way out of Takumi Village the moment they left. Unknown place. Unbeknownst to Naruto and Yugo, Hoki, along with Kujaku, Ryugan, and Suiko, was gathering with the other 4 Celestial Symbols men back in Takumi Village. Hoki had a slender face with a prominent jawline, brown hair combed to the back, and a noticeable black line around the lower part of his eyes. Along with the other 4 Celestial Symbols men, he wore a beige colored forehead protector with the Takumi Village insignia printed on it. A white sword was strapped to his back, and he also wore a purple jacket. With light brown pupilless eyes, blue, green, cyan hair with 2 light yellow striped bangs in the front, and light red lipstick, Kujaku was a fairly slender kunoichi. She was dressed in a light gray jacket with a long white furry tuft around her neck. Underneath, she wore a dark red sleeveless dress that showed off most of her top cleavage. 2 dark brown belts wrapped around it, one at the top and the other at the bottom. Underneath that, she wore a light brown sleeveless shirt that covered her dark red sleeveless dress. On her right arm, she had a long light gray sleeveless leather glove. On her left arm, she had a long light brown stocking that covered her right hand. A white hidden artisan's forehead protector was wrapped around her forehead. She was wearing light gray calf-length high-heel stocking sandals. Ryugan was a thin boy with blue eyeshadow highlighting his green eyes. His white forehead shield was just barely revealing part of his blue hair, which was otherwise well groomed throughout his head. A white scarf hung around his neck and hung down to his pants. Ryugan's stomach was visible through the tight, purple sleeveless shirt he was wearing. He wore purple arm warmers that were fastened to his arms with brown straps. His thick brown belt held his baggy gray pants in place. He tucked the bottom of his pants into his sandals. And Suiko was the biggest member of his group by far. A man of broad build, he wore a purple coat over his armor, which consisted of a pair of dark blue pauldrons and a silver breastplate shaped like a tiger's head. He had wavy brown hair and a small beard, and his eyes had small black pupils. In addition, he had on a distinctive tiger face shaped chest plate. Everything is prepared. We have recovered Sama's body from where he was buried. The others are lying in wait for when those ninja leave that old fool's shack. It won't be long before the rest of the hidden villages will feel the wrath of Takumi Village, Hoki said, making the others smirk eagerly. Ryugan exclaimed, eager to eliminate the ninja and demonstrate Takumi Village's strength. Good. I can't wait to show those loser ninja what real weapon masters look like. Suiko remarked, hoping to demonstrate the runt's potential for service to a greater good and the strength of his armor's defense against their priceless jutsu. We still need the boy to revive Sama, which will at least give the runt a chance to be useful for a greater cause. Kujaku laughed and wanted to sever the ninja with her swords, saying, that doesn't mean he needs to be in one piece. Ahahahahaha. The remaining Takumi ninja were waiting to depart from Todosai's hut, and the 4 of them knew it wouldn't be long before they did. Prepared to strike, to debilitate them sufficiently to employ the boy in the right to bring Seimei back to life. If Todosei hadn't erected a barrier around his hut to let only him and those he invites inside, they would have attacked by now. Hoki thought excitedly, soon they'll all feel our wrath and beg for mercy, meaning that all of the elemental nations would soon find out who really is at the top. Todosei had told Naruto to go get ready after he was told he was ready to start working on creating Zangetsu. Since it would take a lot of time and effort to ensure the sword turns out the way he wants it to, once he started working on it, he wouldn't have many opportunities to stop and rest, causing the whiskered ravenet to decide to take a leisurely stroll in order to decompress. I must devote all of my attention to this task. I cannot afford to become sidetracked and make mistakes, Naruto thought, gazing up at the starry sky before he let out a sigh and shook his head. He ignored his doubts and anxieties in favor of making Zangetsu the best he could be. Unbeknownst to Naruto, the planet's gravity is drawing in a piece of the moon that recently broke off. Hurting more quickly as it entered the atmosphere, it eventually heated up and started to disintegrate. Until finally, not too far from Naruto's location, the fragment shot across the sky and crashed down. The ground began to shake, and Uzumaki's eyes widened in shock. It was then that he noticed the streak of smoke that was rising through the sky and descending to the ground. Was there an impact with the earth? Before following the trail to investigate the source of the shaking, Naruto pondered. Naruto soon arrived at a sizable, smoke-filled crater, where he was startled to see a red-hot, glowing, steaming meteorite in the center. Naruto was shocked to see a meteorite and muttered, "Whoa, a meteorite," as he leapt down into the crater to have a closer look. He could feel the power Zen Aku had given him and the chakra radiating off of it, both of which seemed to be responding to the meteorite. Naruto thought to himself, "I'm definitely using this," grinning as he took out a storage scroll and sealed the meteorite, figuring that it was probably still very hot. In addition to his power from Zen Aku reacting to it and the chakra it contains, this would be an extremely rare occurrence. Knowing that the meteorite would be a priceless forging material, the whiskered ravenet intended to use it to forge Zangetsu. After sealing the meteorite, Naruto returned to Todosai's residence to present his findings to him and Yugo. When Naruto returned to Todosai's house, Yugo and the elder Uzumaki welcomed him with great speed. Naruto said, "Todosai, Yugo. Sensei, I think I found something that can be used in forging Zangetsu." The two gave him a suspicious look. "What did you find, Naruto?" inquired Yugo, curious about what he could have found that he thought would be useful to use in making his sword. Instead of answering, Naruto revealed the meteorite he had discovered, much to their surprise as they saw it and felt the chakra emanate from it. Todosei looked over the meteorite and said, "Well, I'll be damned, you've managed to get your hands on a moon rock." Naruto and Yugo were now staring at him. Naruto asked, "Moon rock? Isn't it just a regular meteorite?" unaware that it had actually broken off from the moon. To their further confusion, Todosei responded, "It's a meteorite, yes. But this came from the moon, I'm sure of it. You can tell just from the amount of chakra coming off it, it's only possible to have come from the moon." Yugo, still in awe of the power she felt emanating from the meteorite, asked, staring at it, "How can you tell it's from the moon just because the chakra coming from it?" It was discovered a long time ago by an Uzumaki astrologist, learning that there are times when pieces of the moon break off before being pulled in by the planet's gravity, crashing down as meteorites. They saw it for themselves one time through a telescope, before going off with a research team to where it first crash landed. They took the fragments back to Uzushiogakure to study them, learning that the energy and chakra levels coming from them was off the charts, far surpassing that star the ninja of Hoshigakure takes so much pride in. Todosei explained, with Naruto frowning slightly at the mention of his clan's village. While training under Todosei, he learned more about the Uzumaki clan, and the more he learned, the angrier and more bitter he became. Discovering that in addition to having a clan, they also had a village that had ties to Konoha. Even the Shodai Hokage wed an Uzumaki, but an alliance consisting of multiple hidden villages destroyed them during the Second Shinobi World War, comprising Sanagakure, Kirigakure, Iwagakure, and a host of smaller towns and countries that had joined forces with them to subdue the Uzumaki clan. However, he has never heard anything concerning Uzushio in Konoha or the Uzumaki clan. The fact that his clan owns the red swirl on Konoha's flak jackets and the swirl in the lead on the forehead protectors only served to infuriate him more. However, for some reason, nobody seems to be aware of the Uzumaki clan's existence or has chosen to ignore it. He only hasn't become more irate because he wanted to concentrate on developing Zangetsu and his training. However, the bearded woman had every intention of finding a solution once he returned to Konoha. Regarding his plans after obtaining those answers, Naruto was still debating whether or not Konoha merited his allegiance. "Hoshigakure?" asked Naruto, putting those ideas out of his mind in order to focus on this other hidden village. It's a minor hidden village located in the Land of Bears. It was founded 200 years ago by the Shodai Hoshikage after discovering a fallen star that landed there, building Hoshigakure near the crater where it landed, with them developing a training regimen to enhance their ninja's chakra reserves from the power within the star," replied Yugo, with Naruto raising a brow at hearing Hoshigakure had a cage. Yugo and Todosei shook their heads in response to Naruto's statement, "I didn't know there was a sixth cage." Just because they call themselves Kage, doesn't make them an official one. They didn't even originally call their leaders the Hoshikage. only claiming the title after the other hidden villages were founded and named their own leaders as Kage. With Hoshigakure also using the title as well, but no one acknowledges it as official and none of the Hoshikage could hope to stand on the same level or have come close, Totose said, before turning back to the meteor. Anyway, this is certainly a lucky find and a very valuable material to use in creating weapons. Even better that if this just landed, then it's only freshly broken off from the moon, making the chakra and energy within much more potent. If you use this to create Zangetsu, you'll truly have a sword unlike any other, well, almost unlike any other. I actually discovered a moon rock myself, long ago. It was one of the materials I used in forging Tessaiga years ago. Now here you are, creating your own sword using the fragments of Tessaiga, after that stupid brat Inuyasha broke it, and a moon rock of your own to forge a new sword. You aren't planning to follow the stupid brat in breaking Zangetsu, will you? Totose said, looking at Naruto with an evil look in his beady eyes, with the younger Uzumaki slowly shaking his head. Naruto laughed and said, "No, no, I won't." Totose laughed. Totose snickered as he recalled having to reforge his prized creation after Inuyasha broke it. One of the materials he needed was one of Inuyasha's fangs. Good, if you did I'd have to take over in seeing that it's repaired. But then I'd also need some extra material, and thankfully your fangs seem to be about as long as Inuyasha's. Naruto and Yugo are gradually moving away from the resentful blacksmith, with the former covering his mouth in fear of having a tooth pulled out. After learning that Tessaiga, the sword from which the fragments originated, was forged from the fang of the great dog demon general, Toga, the two went on to discuss it. The circumstances behind its breaking and reforging, as well as the time before it was given to his son Hanyo Inuyasha following his death. In the latter, Totose used a pair of pliers to yank out one of Inuyasha's fangs. Both ninjas shuddered at the phantom pain of what must have been an excruciating experience. They began to question how much of the suffering Inuyasha endured in order to have Tessaiga reforged was deliberate. Considering that Totose appeared to harbor a resentment towards the Hanyo and displayed extreme vengeance whenever the subject of their creation's destruction was raised. To change the topic, Naruto said, "Okay, what about the chakra in the meteorite? If it came from the moon, why would there be such powerful chakra in the moon to begin with?" Yugo was intrigued by this as well, and Totose stopped laughing. Their curiosity was piqued even more when Totose said, "Oh right, I sometimes forget that hardly anyone knows the truth of things, anymore." "The truth of things?" Yugo asked. Totose revealed, much to the surprise of Naruto and Yugo, that anyone still knew about the sage and Jubi, even if only briefly. Yes, that the moon had been created centuries ago by the sage of six paths, Hagoromo Otsutsuki, after his battle with the Jubi. The Jubi is the first Biju, one that dwarfed the other 9 combined in both size and power. Even the tallest of mountains would be nothing but stepping stones to it, while possessing so much chakra it could trigger natural disasters that covered the entire continent, if not beyond. And Hagoromo was the only one capable of defeating it, battling for days in a fight that scarred the land until he was able to seal the Jubi within himself, becoming the first Jinchuriki. It wasn't until he was at the end of his life did Hagoromo split the Jubi into the 9 Biju we know today while sealing the depowered husk into what's now the moon. That's why the moon contains such raw and powerful chakra, because even as just an empty husk, the Jubi's body is still quite powerful. Totose explained, with Naruto's and Yugo's shock only growing further at hearing this. "That's honestly unreal," Yugo muttered, not convinced that the Sage of Six Paths was real, but acknowledging that the other 9 Bijus had once come from another. The thought of such a beast existing, even as a helpless husk, made the purpleette shudder. Its chakra might be just as strong as what she felt in the meteor, if not more so. Unable to even begin to comprehend the experience of being at maximum power. Totose said, "Indeed, I suppose it's a good thing such knowledge has been lost to all, but a few individuals." The two agreed, explaining that one could never know what some people would do if they knew about the existence of the Jubi. What some people would go to in order to gain the ability to turn themselves into gods. Totose revealed, causing the Ravenette and Purpleette to look at him bewildered. But here's an interesting fact. Did you know that some species of yokai are actually descended from the Biju? The most noticeable examples being Kitsune, Tanuki, and Nekomata. But the Biju are just sentient masses of chakra, without actual genders. How could yokai be descended from them? Asked Naruto. It's because of that, that it's child's play for them to change their form any way they want, including into that of a human. They can easily make themselves either male or female, depending on their preference for whichever gender. Totose replied, much to their surprise. Haven't I suffered enough? Kyubi moaned, not believing that knowledge was still being shared with its container and that it was also known, which made Naruto grin at the opportunity to learn more about the fox. Naruto asked, out of curiosity, what form did the Kyubi usually take? Yugo glanced at him and then turned to Totose, unable to suppress her curiosity about the form that the feared Kyubi took when they were human. Female. Totose said without missing a beat, undoubtedly taking Yugo and Naruto by surprise. Is it true that the Kyubi has a female form? Yugo questioned slowly, not expecting to hear such a thing. Naruto expressed her shock as well, since he had assumed the Kyubi, with its macho demeanor, would take on a male form. It's actually a fairy tale, so who knows if it's true. But it goes that when the Kyubi was young it ended up stumbling onto some women bathing in a stream, resulting in it modeling its human form after them, as this had also been its first experience with the female form at the time. After all, foxes are naturally curious creatures, so it wanted to learn more about their bodies, while taking on the name of Tamamo no Mei. By the time it decided to take on a male form, it had been so used to being female that the feeling of a male body was too foreign. And apparently even as a male, it still looked rather feminine, explained Totose. The ninja looked at him with wide eyes before smiling in amusement. Yugo laughed and said, I didn't think the Kyubi was such a little pervert. He knew that if this was discovered, the Kyubi's reputation would be completely ruined. Well, Fox, I'm sure you must like my sexy jutsu. Or would you rather be sealed in as a girl? Savoring this fresh knowledge, Naruto thought to himself as the now embarrassed and agitated fox growled menacingly in his direction. Shish. Shut up. That was hundreds of years ago and I've never bothered taking a human form again, since then. And don't ever compare that pathetic jutsu to my glory. You aren't even a shadow to how I looked. I was the most dangerous and beautiful creature to walk this planet. People, men and women alike, threw themselves at my feet just to be in my presence and hope I'd give them so much as a glance, retorted Kyubi, refusing to let Naruto even think his sexy jutsu could compare to its female form. Naruto silently laughed as the fox abruptly covered its mouth with its hand in embarrassment over what it had just revealed. So you enjoy having people worship and bow down to you, Q? Heim. I suppose that makes you a princess. Loved that the Kyubi had just given him more material to work with, Naruto thought. Totose said, of course this is all just a fairy tale, so who knows what really happened. The opposite could have happened for all we know. Naruto just grinned savagely, since the Kyubi had just verified that everything he had said was accurate. Would you like to show everyone the world's most beautiful and dangerous creature, Q? Chan? Naruto pondered, the Kyubi snarling with fury. I will devour your heart, Naruto. You will beg and scream for mercy, Kyubi roared. Q. Chan, what a naughty vixen, already trying to make me beg for forgiveness. Naruto thought, at least I know you like being in charge. His laughter in his head grew louder as he began to hear a banging inside his mindscape. In an attempt to show some mercy to the startled Biju, Naruto remarked, I think that's enough of a history lesson. I want to get started on Zanjetsu with this new material. Totose said, then let's get started, shall we? The whiskered ravenet nodded in agreement, and they began working on the sword. Skip time. 5 weeks. After arriving in Takumi village a month and a week ago, Naruto had been working on Zanjetsu almost non-stop. He never stopped except when he was hungry or his weariness got the better of him. And even then, Yugo and Totose had to remind him to eat and rest for half of the time. If not, the younger Uzumaki would be in the forge all the time working. After melting down the meteorite and tessaiga pieces independently, they were combined and molded into the shape of Zanjetsu. The metal was continuously heated, shaped, and folded and overlapping dozens of times to make sure the blade would be extraordinarily strong. While forging the sword, Naruto would also work on adding seals to it so they would become a part of Zanjetsu. Totose would watch him work from the sidelines the entire time, offering guidance and instructions when necessary, reminding the whiskered ravenet not to let any part of the blade get dull or blunt and to make sure the fire is hot enough or to concentrate more on the edge of the blade. However, he mostly kept quiet and let Naruto handle things on his own. The irony that Naruto had traveled to Takumi village to have Zanjetsu made actually caused him to grin a few times. However, he eventually met another Uzumaki, who not only taught him fuinjutsu and blacksmithing, but also started crafting his own sword instead of having it made by someone else. But now, after more than a month of labor, Naruto was holding the finished Zangetsu, inspecting it with Yugo and Totose. Zangetsu, however, appeared more like a katana than the sword he'd sketched and designed. It wouldn't seem remarkable at first, but upon closer examination and feeling, it would reveal its actual nature. Its blade was as dark as the night sky, and it gave off the appearance of radiating chakra. "You did a great job, Naruto." Yugo smiled at her student for creating such a stunning sword. "If I didn't know what was used to make this, I wouldn't think it was any different from a regular katana, aside from being a black blade. But I can tell it'll definitely be a powerful sword." Though he's proud of how Zangetsu turned out, Naruto frowned slightly and said, "Thanks, Yugo Sensei. Though I was hoping it'd turn out like the design I made for it. Don't forget what you used to create this blade. Like the Tessaiga, you'll need to work to unlock Zangetsu's true power, and once you gain access its true form it will only grow more powerful. But that doesn't mean you'll be able to unlock its true power the same way Tessaiga's power was released. That will be something you need to discover on your own," Totose said, with Naruto nodding in response. Totose continued, understanding that he would need to be perfectly in tune with Zangetsu in order to wield the sword correctly. "Now before you go, you should take a few days to rest and meditate, so you can better synchronize the sword with your chakra, otherwise it won't do you any good if it's fighting against you." Bowing to the elderly Uzumaki, Naruto said, "I will, and thank you for everything you've done, Totose. It really means a lot to me." Uzumaki waved him off. "I just made sure you weren't handed some cheap metal object. You have something that is worthy of someone like you, and I know you'll use it wisely," Totose uttered, evoking a smile and a nod from the whiskered ravenet. Repeat. 4 days. In order to better synchronize with Zangetsu, Naruto rested and meditated for the next 4 days. During this time, he felt a stronger connection to the sword. Prior to saying goodbye to Totose, he and Yugo knew that their business was over and they had to return to the village. Gazing at the whiskered ravenet as they leapt through the trees, Yugo asked, "So, are you looking forward to getting started on training with Zangetsu?" In response, Naruto said, "Definitely. It'll be nice to really work on Kenjutsu with the perfect blade." He was excited to begin studying Zangetsu right away. "That's good. Though now that you have a sword suited for you, we'll be." Yugo grinned, realizing that he would have to work much harder at his Kenjutsu training in order to truly master Zangetsu's power. Naruto tensed next to her, sensing something too, before the purplet's eyes widened as she sensed something approaching them. 3 serpentine blue dragons made chakra shoot out of the trees towards them, and the 2 quickly jumped out of the way in time. They retreated back towards their assailant after tearing through the branches they had been on and the chakra dimming to reveal metal wires with blue sword fragments running along them. "Looks like the ninja can move pretty quickly." Ryugen grinned and made himself known, brandishing his Garyan sword. Kujaku screamed evilly, aiming her weaknessless soaring short swords at Yugo and Naruto, but not fast enough. Great vacuum cannon, before unleashing tiny, potent, almost undetectable bursts of wind. As the gusts of wind continued to strike Naruto and Yugo, severing their bodies and propelling them backward, they moved aside, gritting their teeth, before 6 more Takumi ninja with a variety of weapons leapt out and attacked the ninja. As 3 of them charged at Yugo and brought their weapons down on her, one of them exclaimed, "Time for you ninja to see who's superior." The Anbu disappeared in a puff of smoke and was replaced by a log. "Secret sword. Moonlight!" exclaimed Yugo, charging at the Takumi ninja with such speed that he left behind afterimages and striking each of them with swift lateral sword strikes. Naruto flipped through the air, swinging his hand like a claw and unleashing waves of wind chakra at the remaining Takumi ninja. "You weren't wrong. We're seeing who's superior. Beast wave palm," he exclaimed. It was shocking to see Suiko suddenly emerge and leap in front of the attack, and even more so when the waves were absorbed by his infinite armor. Prior to Naruto crashing into a tree, Suiko struck the Uzumaki's side with the head of his flail, causing him to groan in agony. As soon as Naruto attempted to resist, Suiko grabbed him and said, "Yeah, where you arrogant runt." Naruto gritted his teeth and felt his chakra being drained into the infinite armor. Suiko then smashed his head into the tree, unconsciousing the whiskered ravenet, before letting out a grunt. "Yugo, Seeing her student knocked out and then grabbed, cried out in alarm, "Naruto!" Hoki appeared behind Yugo and swung his fire sword at the purplet, unleashing a massive wave of flames at her, saying, "You should be less worried about the brat and more worried about yourself." Yugo sensed the heat and quickly leapt back as the fire shot toward her. She then quickly made a substitution to avoid being burned alive by the flames. After making a reappearance behind Hoki, the purplet transformed into two shadow clones that leapt to his sides. Yugo exclaimed, "Dance of the Crescent Moon," as she and her clones raced to eliminate Hoki. With a growing smirk, Ryugen said, "I take it back, you're pathetically slow," as he swung the Garyan sword at Yugo, sending its 3 prongs flying toward her and her clones. He also channeled chakra into the weapon to turn the prongs into dragons. Yugo leapt into the air, mentally cursing the attack that was coming at her, as the dragons destroyed her clones. Her eyes grew wide as she witnessed Kujaku riding a whirlwind and truly soaring above her. Kujaku swung one of her swords at Yugo and released a powerful gust of wind that sent her crashing back towards the ground. "Ahahahahaha! You can't run, ninja, peacock formation," Kujaku exclaimed. Just before she hit the ground, Suiko charged at Yugo, who was gasping in agony. He slammed his mace into side, sending the Anbu smashing straight through a tree. The purplet felt that attack cracked and possibly fractured a few ribs, so she gritted her teeth and tried to stand up. She also feels as though the strike has depleted a portion of her chakra. However, before she could respond, Ryugen launched his sword wires at her once more, using his chakra to transform them into dragons. When the dragons bit into Yugo's arms and side, she was unable to contain her cries. Hoki exclaimed, "Now see what real weapon masters are capable of," as he swung his sword above his head and flung flames in Yugo's direction. Kujaku swung her swords at the fire vortex and exclaimed, "And be reduced to nothing but ashes," rotating ferocious wind. This created a strong gust of wind that strengthened the flames and allowed them to burn everything in their path. Yugo's eyes widened as she saw the fiery twister heading toward her, but she was able to quickly use a substitution to get away. She let out a cry, but Suiko suddenly materialized, slamming his mace into her back and sending the purplet flying, further depleting her chakra. Swinging the flail head at Yugo, Suiko exclaimed, "You ninja think you're so powerful with your ninjutsu, but against me your attacks are useless." Then she wrapped the chain around her neck, causing her to gasp in agony. Ryugen swung his sword once more and said, "Not that it'd do you any good against us to begin with." He then launched the wires at Yugo and used his chakra to manipulate them so that they sliced through her body. With her swords aimed at Yugo, Kujaku exclaimed, "So why don't you just die already, great vacuum cannon," and unleashed several tiny, potent, and nearly undetectable blasts of wind towards her. Not helped by the chain that was still around her throat, the Anbu gritted her teeth at the onslaught of blows and the way the wind slammed her into the ground. Before she knew it, Hoki was leaping into the air above her and bringing a sword covered in fire down toward her. Damn it! Yugo cursed what had happened and her own failure to save Naruto as she thought. However, before Hoki could complete the purplet, seals began to light up the surrounding area, and Yugo was enveloped in a glowing barrier that broke the chain, letting her inhale sharply and gasp, and saving her from Hoki's attempt to stab her with his sword. To their fury, the Takumi ninja were then forced to retreat when numerous large blades began to emerge from the ground surrounding them. Ryugen exclaimed, "Where are you hiding, you old bastard?" realizing that Totose was the one responsible. Kujaku mockingly exclaimed, "Are you actually stupid enough to try fighting, or will you just hide like a coward?" in the hopes that he would emerge and they could kill him as well, eradicating the stain his presence had left on their village. To their dismay and rage, Yugo was no longer there when the blades withdrew back into the earth rather than emerging. "Forget the old man. We have the brat, now we can proceed with reviving Sama. Then we'll deal with them," Hoki exclaimed, and the others, who now had everything necessary to bring their leader back to life, nodded in agreement before leaping away. With Yugo. With a moan, Yugo's eyes gradually opened and she saw Totose watching over her. Upon spotting the fighting and rushing to aid, Totose said, "Easy there, you've been out for a while. You're lucky I showed up when I did, otherwise you'd be dead right now." He arrived just in time to prevent Yugo from being killed. Yugo just grunted as she attempted to sit up, but she tried to ignore the pain as her injuries continued to worsen. Yugo, with gritted teeth, said, "Thank you for the help, Totose. But I need to go." Those people took Naruto. However, the elderly Uzumaki pushed her back down into bed. Totose said, making Yugo frown, but she knew he was right. She wouldn't be able to fight those people again in the same way. If you try going after them as you are now, you'd only be walking to your death, and then no one would be able to save Naruto. She would undoubtedly die if she attempted to fight them while injured, because they already had the upper hand thanks to their weapons and surprise attack. Yugo inquired, wondering if he knew anything about those people. Who even were those people? And what were those weapons they had? Those were Hoki, Kujaku, Ryugen, and Suiko. They call themselves the Four Celestial Symbols Men. Hoki wields a fire sword that lets him manipulate and create large amounts of fire. Kujaku uses the weaknessless soaring short swords. Think of them as wind versions of the Kiba blades from Kirigakure, as she can manipulate and control wind with them and use high-level wind ninjutsu with only minimal chakra. Ryugen has the Garyan sword that can extend out on metal wires and be freely manipulated with his chakra. And if he channels more into the sword, it transforms into 3 dragon heads. Finally, Suiko has the infinite armor, which lets him absorb the chakra of anyone that touches it, as well as absorb the chakra from any jutsu, along with even being able to use his mace flail to absorb chakra from anyone he hits. The Anbu frowned at hearing the weapons are powerful. Yugo asked, "And what exactly do they want with Naruto?" Totose shook his head in response. "My best guess is they plan to use him to somehow revive Takumi Village's founder, Seimei. Hoki and his allies resent the hidden villages more than anyone else in Takumi Village and desire to get revenge on them, leading to them training harder than anyone else. With their ultimate goal being to revive Seimei, who everyone in Takumi worships as the so-called ultimate weapon, and believe he'll help them destroy the ninja villages in revenge. But to do that, they need someone with a lot of chakra," revealed Totose, much to Yugo's shock and disbelief before she tried getting up again. Yugo exclaimed, "Then I need to go and save him." Naruto had more chakra than anyone could have imagined thanks to his lineage and the Kyuubi, and he had no idea what would happen if they took too much of his own and made him use the Kyuubi's chakra. Totose stopped Yugo and yanked out a summoning scroll and a vial of blood. "Didn't I just say it'd be suicide for you to do that? You can't go. Don't you have any way to contact anyone from Konoha to send a team to save him?" Yugo exclaimed. Given a summoning scroll and some blood by Kakashi to send a message in case anything happened while she and Naruto were gone, Yugo replied, "Yes, I do. Something that'll ensure another team gets here as soon as possible." When Yugo opened the summoning scroll and spilled the blood on it, it ignited and Kakashi's Ninken Pakun materialized in a cloud of smoke. Pakun looked at the person who had called for him and said, "Oh Yugo, you summoned me. You need a message delivered then?" The purpleette nodded and hurriedly scribbled down a message. "Sure. I need you to take this to the Hokage and Kakashi as soon as possible. Tell them that Takumi Ninja attacked Naruto and me, and they took Naruto. Go," Yugo said, passing the message to Pakun, who nodded before swallowing it and disappearing in a cloud of smoke. Office of the Hokage. The Sandame, meanwhile, was working on paperwork in his office, but his thoughts remained on the report that Teams 7 and 10 had returned from the Fire Temple. Along with having a former 12 Guardian Ninja working with him, he does not think Orochimaru is to blame for its destruction. To make matters worse, he was now accompanied by a pseudo Jinchuriki who was obviously resentful of him and his son for the falsehoods they had told him. "Orochimaru, what are you planning?" With a frown, Hiruzen considered what his misbehaving student might be planning to carry out such a blatant attack and cursed his incapacity to have killed him years earlier. Prior to the Hokage's focus shifting to a smoke-filled cloud, Pakun materialized on his desk holding a message in his mouth. "Pakun?" Sarutobi asked, frowning in concern as he wondered why Kakashi's Ninken had come to this place, before Pakun left the note on his desk. Then, Pakun vanished once more in a cloud of smoke to tell his summoner, "Yugo sent me. She said it was an emergency. She and Naruto were attacked by Takumi Ninja and that Naruto was taken by them. Now I need to go tell Kakashi." After hearing this, Sarutobi's eyes widened, but he quickly opened the message and read the contents. "Anbu. Get me Kakashi, Yamato, Asuma, Kurenai, Anko, and Guy, now." Hiruzen commanded, understanding that he had to put together a group to go get Naruto as soon as possible and that he couldn't risk it. In partnership with Naruto, The four celestial symbols men, meanwhile, surrounded Seimei's coffin in a sizable metal dome, the latter of which Naruto was placed to prevent him from trying to flee during the ceremony. As Hoki said, "It's time, we shall revive Seimei Sama, and together we will have our revenge on the hidden villages. They will know why they should fear us and our weapons still. Let the ritual begin." The four started using hand signs to start transferring Naruto's chakra into Seimei's body. Naruto's eyes snapped open as he roared in agony inside the dome, sensing his chakra being forcefully taken out and inserted into Seimei's body. In an attempt to break free, the Uzumaki thrashed around before crashing into the metal dome. He growled and kept slamming his fist into the dome, trying to crack it open. "Let me out! Let me out! Let me out! Let me out!" Naruto cried, not realizing that his ears were growing pointed, his nails were growing into claws, and his canines were turning into fangs. He shifted his attack from punching the dome to using his claws, trying to tear apart the metal while snarling and growling. He did not even notice, only for his attacks to become more feeble as more of his chakra was expended until he collapsed, gasping, to his knees. Ryugen taunted Naruto, growling and making his eyes flicker between gold and blood red. "Give it up, you stupid brat. You'll never get out, just accept your fate." Naruto then threw up his head and roared loudly in rage. There is no one in Takumi village who knows what they are letting loose or what they are in for. A few days after Naruto and Yugo departed for Takumi village, Kakashi and Yamato resumed their regular training regimen and stood aside to watch Satsuki and Hinata's training. Despite Naruto's departure, they managed to complete a few D-rank missions but not any higher ones. The only time this wasn't the case was when they were dispatched to look into the Fire Temple. After learning of their mission, the copy ninja and Mokuton user were still concerned about this. Being dispatched on an additional mission during that period, he would learn about it upon his return. Kakashi looked at Yamato, who could only sigh and shake his head. "Why do you think Orochimaru would attack the Fire Temple? Or recruit someone like Kazuma for whatever he's planning?" Kakashi asked. "The better question is, what wouldn't Orochimaru be planning?" The Fire Temple and the ninja monks were among those who trained specifically in handling all things supernatural, whether it's killing or sealing things that normal ninja can't handle. The knowledge they'd have within the temple alone would be enough to get Orochimaru's attention, wanting to get his hands on it so he could learn more about the supernatural, replied Yamato, and Kakashi agreed with him. Orochimaru would want to capture and experiment on yokai because of their long lifespans and his desire to become immortal and learn all the jutsu in the world, which implies that he would seek knowledge on how to apprehend them, and such information would be available from the Fire Temple. Kakashi responded, knowing that the real threat from Kazuma's knowledge of the Land of Fire would come from his own allies, all of whom were extremely powerful and undoubtedly possessed unique skill sets that would aid in his goal. Yeah. And then there's Kazuma, a former member of the 12 Guardian Ninja. He'd have intimate knowledge of not only the Land of Fire as a whole, but also the daimyo. Though they both knew he could at least deal with Sora if they ever encountered him, Yamato continued, then there's the fact he now has a pseudo Jinchuriki with him as well, one that seems to not be completely stable going from what you've heard. Even more so, we have no idea how much of the Kyuubi's chakra was sealed inside this Sora kid, nor how many tails he could potentially unleash. That gives three separate motives. One is Orochimaru's developing an interest in studying yokai. Two is that he's making plans to try and strike at the daimyo to plunge all of the Land of Fire into chaos. And three, he's putting together an army. Kakashi said gravely, causing Yamato to look at him disbelief. Even though Orochimaru would want to destroy Konoha, he wouldn't be stupid enough to attack it head on. An army? You don't think he'd actually try and attack Konoha, do you? Yamato asked. The Mokuton user scowled but had to nod in agreement. In a straight fight? No, Orochimaru would never do something like that. Even with any allies he has, it'd be too reckless. But we can't rule out the possibility that he could be planning to attack the village, if he's gathering allies and trying to weaken our defenses, Kakashi said. Realizing that the likelihood of Orochimaru preparing to attack Konoha, if not attempt to start a full-scale conflict, is not zero. Before they could continue, Pakun materialized in front of them as a puff of smoke, and their focus instantly shifted to him. Satsuki and Hinata's attention are also drawn to the Ninken's appearance, forcing the girls to abandon their training and crossover, as if they were being dispatched on a different mission. To their surprise and concern, and, in Satsuki's case, ire, Pakun exclaimed, "Kakashi! It's an emergency. Yugo summoned me and said that she and Naruto were attacked by Takumi ninja, and that Naruto was captured by them. Satsuki insisted, knowing that Naruto wouldn't be taken prisoner or even defeated by blacksmiths who mistakenly believed they were ninja. What do you mean they were attacked and Naruto was captured? How could they not handle a bunch of blacksmiths playing dress up? She exclaimed. The Ravenet was shocked, worried, and angry that Naruto and Yugo had been attacked and that the former had been taken prisoner, but she was also afraid. She has no idea why or for what reason he would have been taken, she is just afraid that something bad would happen to him. It doesn't help that she's still tense due to memories of the Uchiha massacre and the Fire Temple massacre. All of her belongings, including people she had lost, were gone except for Naruto, who remained by her side regardless of what transpired or what she did. Something that has remained constant since their initial encounter. Retrospective. Satsuki, then 5 years old, grinned broadly as she strolled beside her mother, Makoto Uchiha. They haven't been able to spend much time together since Satsuki started her training, but today they were able to since her father and brother were too busy to train with her. At the moment, they were strolling through the park while kids played and laughed and adults went about their daily lives. Satsuki abruptly stopped and turned to face the playground, but nobody was using it or even appearing to approach it. She was alone with a blonde boy of her age who was swinging. When Satsuki saw the boy's dejected expression, she thought, he looks sad, and she frowned at the reason he was sitting there by himself. Makoto asked, grabbing her daughter's attention, "What is it, Satsuki?" Satsuki pointed to the boy and said, Ka-san, look, that boy is sitting by himself. Makoto glanced and saw the child sitting by himself, unaccompanied by anyone, before her eyes widened and she scowled when she realized who it was. Makoto thought, Naruto, knowing exactly who it was and feeling sorry for him because of his current situation. The Uchiha matriarch and her former teammate, Minato Namikaze, who was also her childhood friend and love, both knew it was Naruto, the son of Kushina Uzumaki, her best friend. But she also knew that almost all the other people who saw him saw only the Kyuubi, the creatures sealed inside him. More than that, though, she also turned to face the godson she had been barred from adopting, from raising, from even merely interacting with. Makoto was devastated to learn that two of the people she loved the most had passed away, leaving Naruto by himself. What was even worse was that she suspected he would have had the Kyuubi sealed inside of him. Not only did he lose his parents, but she also knew that Kushina would never want him to carry that burden. She had no intention of leaving Naruto alone, instead, she had planned to take him in and raise him alongside her own kids. Regretfully, upon Makoto's departure to bring him back, the Sandaime declined to entertain the notion that Naruto, the Kyuubi Jinchuriki, could have been raised by the Uchiha clan. Nothing Makoto said caused him to change his mind. In fact, he even went so far as to issue a restraining order against the Ravenet, barring her from approaching Naruto. Something that infuriated the matriarch and strongly encouraged her to simply take Naruto away, far away from everyone else, where he would at least have the opportunity to grow up safe and anonymous. In addition, to show the Hokage some love by stealing Konoha's Jinchuriki. The risk it would pose to her family and clan is the only thing keeping her from doing it. Not to mention that, regardless of his desires, Naruto would still be sought after and brought back to Konoha. However, Makoto then attempted to contact Hitomi Hyuga, Kushina's other friend, to see if she could obtain custody of Naruto. Only to receive the same outcome. Hitomi was not allowed to adopt him and was not allowed to speak to Naruto, leaving them to watch him only through a distance until Hitomi's second daughter was born and she too soon passed away. Something that made Makoto's grief over losing yet another friend even greater. She didn't even agree with the Hokage on anything other than the fact that he concealed Naruto's Jinchuriki status so he could grow up somewhat normally. However, that too was short-lived. For a few months ago rumors circulated that he was the one who killed the Yondaime Hokage because the Kyuubi was sealed inside of him. When the Sandaime discovered the truth, it was too late to prevent the elder generation from sharing it with the younger. Not that it stops anything, Makoto thought sourly. Parents continued to keep their kids away from Naruto, calling him dangerous and a troublemaker, despite not knowing the truth. The fact that Makoto could figure out who leaked Naruto's status and that she already knew the Sandaime would only give him a slap on the wrist infuriated her even more. If I had my way, that mummy would have been put in the ground years ago, in as many pieces as possible, Makoto thought, knowing that Danzo Shimura was the one person she absolutely detested. Not only had she to watch her godson grow up alone and without a family, but now the Kyuubi had made her hated and shunned. Meanwhile, he is hated and abandoned, and he has no idea who his family is or why. However, Makoto pondered, glancing down at her daughter to gain insight before lowering herself to Satsuki's level. Makoto spoke, causing Satsuki to look at her bewildered. "You're right, Satsuki, he does look lonely. Who don't you go introduce yourself, that way he won't be anymore." "Why?" Satsuki inquired, wondering why her mother had asked her to go speak with him, while Makoto just gave her a pat on the head and a smile. Makoto answered, knowing that if things had gone differently, they would have grown up as siblings. "I feel like you two could be such great friends." Makoto laughed dryly to herself, imagining the redhead giggling as she made all the wedding arrangements, and if Kushina was here, she'd already be planning the wedding. Satsuki scowled at her mother's remarks, then glanced back at the boy with a questioning look. A few moments later, she turned back to face her mother, nodding and grinning. "Okay. Ka-san," Satsuki exclaimed, jumping to the blonde with the whiskers, believing her when she said they could become friends. When Satsuki finally got to Naruto, she said, "Hello there," and smiled to draw the Uzumaki's attention. With a startled expression on his face, Naruto briefly looked around to see if Satsuki was speaking to someone else. The fact that she was speaking to him surprised and perplexed him even more when he realized that nobody else was present. Naruto, who was unaccustomed to people approaching him, said hesitantly, "Hi." Satsuki, inquiring about his name, said, "I'm Satsuki Uchiha. What's your name?" Naruto. "Naruto Uzumaki," was Naruto's response, shocked once more when Satsuki extended her hand, which he cautiously accepted and shook. "Nice to meet you, Naruto. So, would you like to play?" Satsuki asked, causing the Uzumaki to turn around in shock. "Play?" Naruto asked, genuinely perplexed by what was going on. Someone has not only come up to him to introduce herself, but she is also asking if he would like to play. While Naruto was still staring at her with wide eyes, Satsuki said, "Yeah, or we could train together if you want. I've been learning shurikenjutsu, I could show you some if you'd like." Then, slowly, he started to smile. "That sounds really great. Yeah, I'd really like to train and play together," Satsuki said in response to Naruto, widening her smile before grabbing his hand. Pulling Naruto along, Satsuki exclaimed, "Great, then let's go." Time. Skip. Throwing a handful of shuriken, Naruto watched them fly through the air, bending around the trees and striking the prearranged targets. Grinning, satisfied with the sight of the shuriken striking the targets, even though it did not come close to the center. Satsuki grinned and said, "Way to go, Naruto. You've really gotten better with using shuriken." He then returned the Uzumaki. Naruto said, "Thanks Satsuki, you've really helped a lot with curving them through the air." He was appreciative of her assistance with his shurikenjutsu. Satsuki said, her smile turning into a smirk, "Yeah, I know. I'm sure soon you might be as good as me." Naruto rolled his eyes but smirked at her too. Naruto shot back, saying, "Or maybe I'll be better than you and then you'll be learning from me." Then they both grinned. However, before the two could continue, they became aware of footsteps approaching from behind. When Satsuki realized it was Itachi, she ran over to them with a smile on her face while the other kids peered to see who it was. Satsuki asked, narrowing her eyes at her brother, "Ni-san. Are you finally going to start helping me with my training now?" She yelled when Itachi prodded her in the forehead and grinned. Itachi said, "Sorry Satsuki, I've just been busy, but I've managed to get some free time now." He had been busy since learning that he would be joining the Anbu and had to get to know his new squad members in order to work on missions with them. Itachi didn't seem to care that Naruto was a Jinchuriki until the older Uchiha narrowed his eyes at him and realized who he was. He was introduced to a redhead by his mother, who he vaguely remembered spending time with. He only knew enough to know that his mother had attempted to adopt Naruto but had been prevented from doing so by the Hokage. Itachi was concerned only with being a boy and spending time with his younger sister when they were by themselves. "And you are?" Itachi inquired, glancing down at Naruto and giving the scruffy blonde a nervous swallow at the menacing expression in his eyes. Feeling a little better, Naruto said, "You. I'm Naruto Uzumaki. It's nice to meet you," as Satsuki ran up and grasped his hand. Satsuki introduced them, and Itachi's eyes narrowed even more at the sight of them holding hands. Yeah, this is Naruto, my best friend. I met him when Ka-san and I spent the day together. Itachi pulled out a kunai and idly twirled it around his finger, asking, I see. So, do you intend to enter the academy, Naruto? As Itachi threw the kunai into a tree and then pulled out another one, Naruto said, Why? Yes. Itachi asked the Uzumaki, who nodded slowly. And are you planning to remain Satsuki's friend while in the academy? Itachi asked. When Naruto said, Why? Yes. Why wouldn't I? Itachi responded by hurling the kunai into the tree once more and pulling out another. Well, it wouldn't be strange for you two to become rivals. After all, everyone in the academy wishes to be the best and strongest. And you certainly seem like the competitive type, with Satsuki being rather competitive herself. I merely wish to make sure that if you two compete together, you won't end up hurting my sister. Itachi replied, making Naruto blush because he believed he had hurt Satsuki. Satsuki, frowning at her brother in frustration, said, Stop it, Ni-san. Naruto and I can still be friends and rivals, but I'll still be stronger. She then smirked at Naruto. Naruto grinned back, Yeah right, I'll be way stronger than you. You'll be needing to catch up to me in no time. However, when Itachi threw the third kunai into the tree, Naruto took a big gulp. Narrowing his eyes at the fair-haired blonde, Itachi questioned rhetorically, So now you think you're better than Satsuki? Not right now. Satsuki is really strong. She's even helping me train, said Naruto. To Satsuki's irritation, Itachi demanded, Then you're not strong. How would you be able to protect Satsuki if she needs help? Or will you just do nothing if something happens to her? Satsuki exclaimed, irritated at her brother's treatment of her, Itachi, I wouldn't need anyone to protect me or help me. I'd be able to handle myself just fine. Itachi patted her on the head and said, Now Satsuki, I'm merely making sure that you'll be looked after when you become a ninja and go out on mission. This only irritated her more, so she smacked his hand away, and the older Uchiha turned back to Naruto. Itachi asked, Answer the question. What would you do if Satsuki was in danger? Naruto gradually retreated as Itachi approached him. I would protect her, was Naruto's response as he began to lose it over Itachi's approach. Protect her how? What exactly are you planning to learn and train in as a ninja? Itachi inquired. Ninjutsu, stated Naruto, uncertain if his response was appropriate. Only ninjutsu? What if you face an enemy skilled in genjutsu or in taijutsu? Or someone that can counter your ninjutsu? What if they're simply stronger? Itachi replied. Naruto began, attempting to respond, but the elder Uchiha cut him off. As Naruto backed up into a tree, Itachi demanded, activating his Sharingan, What even are your intentions towards Satsuki? Is she really just a friend, or do you see her as something else? Do you plan for her to be more than a friend? WH. What else W? Whoa. Would S.sh.sh.sh.she be.be.b.b.be? Asked Naruto. Itachi narrowed his eyes and said, What else would she be? Are you now saying she's not good enough? The whiskered blonde shook his head quickly. No, Satsuki is really great, and I really like her. She's the greatest friend I could have, exclaimed Naruto, but Itachi seemed to take offense at this. Itachi said, barely flinching when Satsuki kicked him in the shin. You do like her, then? How are you planning to corrupt her? Satsuki stood in front of Naruto and scowled angrily at her brother, annoyed at his overprotectiveness, which usually turns off other kids from befriending her because no one wants to get on the bad side of the Uchiha clan's prodigy. Stop it, Kami. You do this all the time. Why are you so embarrassing and weird, Ni-san? Satsuki exclaimed. Itachi, meanwhile, was staring at her, shocked that she had really done that and called him that. Itachi continued, But I'm trying to make you safe, Satsuki, to which the Ravenet responded with a sigh and a crossed arm. Satsuki shot back, Well, I'm perfectly safe and Naruto wouldn't do anything to hurt me. And he definitely wouldn't embarrass me like you or act all weird. However, she growled when she noticed Itachi leaning against a tree. Itachi muttered, thinking Satsuki now detested him for merely attempting to keep her safe. I'm a failure. Nothing but an embarrassing weirdo, whose sister hates him. While Naruto's initial fear began to fade into amusement at the sight, Satsuki whispered, embarrassed at his behavior, "Ni. Baka. Time. Skip." With a vacant and lifeless expression, Satsuki sat at the end of the dock where she had previously practiced her grand fireball jutsu. It has been almost a week since my hospital discharge, which occurred just hours ago. Why? Satsuki thought, stifling a new wave of agony and despair as her thoughts returned to the night everything had been stolen from her. She was excited to show her family how much she had improved and had stayed late at the academy to complete some more training before heading back to the Uchiha compound. However, upon her arrival, all she had witnessed was what had been ingrained in her memory. Seeing corpses line the streets, weapons are strewn everywhere, buildings are destroyed, and blood is everywhere. Before she fled, finding more bodies along the way in the hopes that her family was at least safe, she was shocked and horrified by what had happened. Only to see Itachi standing over their parents' corpses. A sight even more horrifying. Revealing that, in order to test his power, he had killed every member of the clan, including their parents. Before then, Satsuki was made to watch it repeatedly while employing some form of genjutsu, much to her horror at having to witness everyone die. Then, scared that he would kill her as well, Satsuki fled. However, Itachi caught up to her and told her that he wouldn't kill her because she wasn't worth killing. But as the ultimate test of his mettle, the only person he thought could stand up to him, his little sister whom he never loved, he was going to let her live. Revealing to Satsuki the Mangekyo Sharingan's secret, that in order to access it, she would have to murder her closest friend, just as he did. After that, Satsuki lost all sense of time and only experienced pain, grief, rage, hatred, and a host of other emotions. Nevertheless, she was still aware of the final words Itachi uttered before departing. "If you want to kill me, curse me, hate me, and live a long and unsightly life, run away, and cling to your pitiful life. And then someday, when you have the same eyes as I do, come before me." Itachi. Itachi? Satsuki thought as the pain she was feeling gradually gave way to nothing but utter hatred and rage. A desire for vengeance to track him down and murder him for everything he had done, to inflict suffering on him and expose him as the weak one. Satsuki. Satsuki turned around to see the Uzumaki staring at her hesitantly as Naruto's voice startled her out of her gloomy thoughts. Satsuki questioned coldly, "What do you want?" which caused Naruto to recoil a little. After hearing about the Uchiha massacre and knowing that word had spread to the rest of the village, Naruto said, "I just wanted to come see after what happened." He had wanted to make sure the Ravenet was safe. Satsuki turned to face the lake and said, "Fine. You saw me, now go away. She just wanted to be by herself." Naruto interrupted himself, saying, If you wanted to talk, then I'm here to listen to anything you want to say. Since I figured that you'd want to." In response, Satsuki said, "That I'd want to what? Talk to someone? Talk to you? Well, I don't. I want to be alone. So leave me alone." Naruto winced at her remarks but remained motionless. Naruto started to say, "Okay, you don't have to say anything if you don't want to. We could just sit if that would help. I'm just trying to he." But Satsuki interrupted him once more. Satsuki glared at the mustachioed blonde. "Well, I don't want your help and I definitely don't want you around." Naruto turned to face her in shock. "Sat," exclaimed Naruto. "Just shut up and go. Get that through that thick, empty skull of yours. I don't want you around. And I sure as hell don't want a loser like you as a friend. I didn't even care to try and be your friend. The only reason I even talked to you in the first place was because my Ka-san told me to. I was perfectly fine leaving you alone. Like the pathetic loser you were. So is that clear enough, you stupid doby? Now leave?" Satsuki yelled, the Uzumaki appearing to have been struck by her words before turning to look at her with hurt and sorrow. But it was short-lived because he glared at her again shortly after. Naruto shot Satsuki in the face, grunting, "Well, screw you. Who'd want to be friends with some spoiled brat like you? Anyway, I only came here to make sure you were alright and safe, because I cared. But if you only want to be a selfish jerk, then fine." Naruto got up and shoved Satsuki back, knocking her down in the process. "Shut up, I didn't ask you to come here or for you to care. The only thing I want is for you to get lost, but apparently you're too stupid to even understand that," Satsuki yelled. Satsuki swiftly got up and tackled Naruto to the ground, punching him repeatedly while the Uzumaki covered his face. Naruto exclaimed. Why don't you shut up? You think you can say and act however you want? That you can push around anyone you want? That you're better? When Naruto abruptly slammed his head into Satsuki's, the Uchiha flew off of him and she cried out, I am better, Dobi. You'd be nothing but the worthless dead last if it wasn't for me helping you. And if you have such a problem with me, then leave already. I want you gone, but you won't go away. When Satsuki attempted to stand up, the whiskered blonde quickly stood up and pinned her to the ground, causing the Ravenette to flail around in an attempt to startle him. Naruto scoffed at Satsuki and lowered his voice. Because I care, even if you don't. I thought we were friends and friends are supposed to take care of each other, and because I know what it's like, he said. You don't know anything. You never had a family in the first place. You were alone from the very beginning. What makes you think you could know anything about what it's like? What it's like to lose everything. You have no idea what it's like to lose someone, Satsuki screamed with Naruto looking down. Yeah, I don't know what it's like. I never had anyone to come home to, no one to pick me up from the academy. I don't know what it's like to lose a family. But I know what it feels like to be alone. It's the worst feeling in the world, to have everyone treat you like you don't exist, that you're not even there. It makes you want to do anything to have some look at you, even if it's just as an annoyance. Maybe I don't know what it's like to lose a family, but I know what it's like to be alone. Satsuki replied. Naruto said, refusing to let Satsuki be alone like he was and feel that kind of sadness. You want to hate me, beat me up, say that we're not friends. Then fine, do whatever you want, but I'm not leaving. I'm not going to let you be alone, because even you don't care or want me around. I'm still your friend, got it? Not being able to contain her tears, Satsuki sobbed, and what if you staying just means I'll kill you one day? Naruto shockingly got off of her. What? What are you talking about? Satsuki asked, sitting up and attempting to dry her eyes from the tears that wouldn't stop falling. Naruto asked. Itachi. Itachi was the one who killed everyone. He did it just to test his power. And that I wasn't worth killing, that's the only reason he let me live. Because he wants me to have the same eyes as him, the Mangekyo Sharingan. He used it on me too, making me watch him kill everyone over and over again. He wants me to challenge him with those eyes, just as another test. And I have to kill my best friend to get them. Now just leave. Leave so you won't die. Satsuki cried, preferring that Naruto detested and avoided her rather than succumbing to the temptation to kill the Mangekyo Sharingan. With wide eyes, Naruto stared at her, unable to believe not only that Itachi was the one who killed the Uchiha clan, but also what he had said to her. The Ravenette tried weakly to push him away, but she didn't stop crying until the whiskered blonde came over and gave Satsuki a consoling hug. What happened? Naruto wondered, mentally berating Itachi for his actions and wondering what had become of the cool, intimidating, yet humorous older brother he had gotten to know. Or questioned whether he was real at all, if everything had just been an act he did to keep his true nature hidden from others. The Ravenette looked at Naruto with teary eyes and said, so what, if you think that's going to leave you alone, then you're wrong. I don't care about whatever that bastard said or about any stupid eyes. I'm not leaving. This confused the Ravenette. Satsuki questioned, wondering why he would voluntarily endanger his own life in such a way. Why? Why would you risk yourself to stay with me? What happens if I try to kill you? She asked. Because you're my best friend and I know you. You're really smart, stubborn, one of the strongest in the academy. You don't let anyone try bossing you around, but you're also kind and caring. You'd never do anything to hurt someone you care about, and you're the greatest friend anyone could ask for. Naruto said, grinning at Satsuki, and making her what he was saying. Both of the children winced as Satsuki muttered, I'm your only friend. Satsuki apologized for everything she had just said and the lack of grace in it, but Naruto dismissed her words with a wave. Naruto said, don't worry about it, it helps more to let all that out after what happened. And one other thing is the Satsuki I know would never kill me for power, so I know you never do anything like that. And I promise that you'll never need any stupid eyes to fight anyone, because I'm going to be there to help you. He would not allow Satsuki to pursue Itachi on her own, even if he could assist her. Shaking her head, Satsuki yelled, no, Itachi's my responsibility to deal with and mine alone. Determined not to let Itachi take away anyone else she cared about. Not one to leave Satsuki on her own, Naruto grinned at the Ravenette and said, well too bad, he became my responsibility too after he hurt you, so I'm helping you deal with him. And no matter what else you decide to do, I'm always going to be here no matter what, whether you like it or not, I'm staying. Satsuki blushed even more in response to his words and assurance, and she experienced a surge of warmth at the thought of Naruto never leaving her side, before turning away from him in a hurry to cover up her blush and slow her heartbeat. Naruto pushed Satsuki gently, much to her annoyance, as she muttered, "Baka." Naruto shot the Uchiha a warning glance and said, "If you're going to keep insulting me, maybe I'll just stay long enough to dye your hair and clothes pink." The friends then burst out laughing together. Final flashback. Worried about what might be happening to him at that moment, Satsuki thought, Naruto. Even if the people of Takumi Village aren't officially ninja, they shouldn't be underestimated thanks to their weapons. Their skill in wielding them and the abilities they possess make it so they shouldn't be underestimated, regardless of their own abilities. Even more so, if they were ambushed. Kakashi said, and Yamato nodded in agreement. Yamato said, aware that whatever the Takumi ninja were planning, they'd probably been ready for anything they'd encounter. Agreed. And with Takumi Village's distaste towards the hidden villages, especially the 5 great nations, they must have been plotting this for a while. Meaning they've been preparing to ambush a ninja they'd need for their plans, while Naruto and Yugo were just unlucky enough to be their chosen targets. As he and Yamato disappeared in a shunshin to the Hokage's office, Kakashi said, "Yeah, now let's go." Office of the Hokage. Kakashi and Yamato noticed Asuma, Kurenai, Guy, and Anko were already there when they reappeared. Kakashi asked rhetorically, observing their reactions and assuming they already knew why they were here. "Do you all know why we're here?" Noting that Hinata cared about Naruto and that Yugo was her friend, Kurenai responded, feeling equally concerned, "Yes, Hokage. Sama told us the basics but not everything." Given that Yugo is also her friend, Anko grinned wickedly and said, "I'm looking forward to making these wannabe ninja assholes see what real ninja can do." Anko is eager to defeat the Takumi ninja. Sarutobi handed them copies of the report Yugo had sent him to read over, the Jonin all scowling at the Takumi ninja plans. "And all of you will get the chance. Takumi Village has crossed a line and must be dealt with for such a transgression. First, here is all the information Yugo was able to provide, thanks to a trustworthy blacksmith that's allied with her and Naruto. Your mission is as follows: eliminate the 4 celestial symbols men and all those allied with them that get in your way. Prevent the resurrection of Seimei, as well as ensuring any future attempts are prevented by destroying his body. Lastly, retrieve both Naruto Uzumaki and Yugo Uzuki. Once you have completed your objectives, send a message so the ambush squads that I've deployed will move in and neutralize Takumi Village in its entirety." Hiruzen went on to say that they would never do anything like this again. Kakashi said, "We'll get it done, Hokage." Sama. The others nodded in agreement, and they hurriedly left the office to make their way to Takumi Village. However, Satsuki and Hinata abruptly stopped them before they could reach the gates, and Kakashi and Yamato scowled in their faces. "What do you two think you're doing?" Yamato inquired, hoping they were simply saying goodbye despite her uneasy feeling. Hinata nodded in agreement as Satsuki said, "We're going with you." Hinata responded, "Yeah, we want to help save Naruto-kun and Yugo. Sensei." Neither of them wants to be left behind when their friend, crush and a teacher are in danger. Kurenai quickly shot down the idea of them joining the mission, saying, "Absolutely not, this mission is far too dangerous for Genin, and we'll already have enough to worry about without needing to make sure 2 are safe." Kurenai is right, you too. While it's admirable you want to help save them, just leave this to us, replied Asuma. Agreed, the 6 of us are more than enough to handle the Takumi ninja, alone, replied Yamato. However, Satsuki began, but Kakashi interrupted her. Not wishing to put his other students in danger, Kakashi said, "Enough, neither of you will be coming and that's final. There will be times for you two to prove yourselves later, but now isn't that time." Guy gave them a thumbs up and a big smile, telling them they wouldn't have any trouble saving Naruto and Yugo and dealing with anyone who stood in their way. "Yosh. I can see your flames of youth are truly burning bright with the desire to save your comrades. But have no fear, we will be back in no time them Yugo and young Naruto before the day is even done." Anko said, "Just leave it to us, brats. This will be quick and easy dealing with a bunch of dumbasses trying to act strong." The Jonin all quickly departed, leaving Satsuki and Hinata behind and making their way toward the gates. Hinata scowled in concern as the Uchiha heiress grimaced in frustration at not being able to assist in saving Naruto and Yugo. Although they didn't like it either, they questioned whether staying would be preferable to getting in the way or becoming a target. Hinata looked at the Ravenet and said, "What should we do, Satsuki?" "We're going to follow them. I don't care what they say, I'm not staying here while Naruto-kun and Yugo Sensei are in trouble, especially not after being attacked by a bunch of wannabe ninja blacksmiths that rely on their damn weapons." Satsuki replied, refusing to remain where she could offer assistance. Satsuki merely shook her head in response to Hinata's question, "Are you sure? They will be going against 6 Jonin. That seems like they could handle anything the Takumi ninja have." Satsuki answered, making the brunette frown before nodding after a short while, knowing she's right and there's a chance the Takumi ninja had something else in store for any reinforcements. "Maybe they can, but like Kakashi Sensei said, they shouldn't be underestimated because of their weapons. And who knows what else they have or if they have ways to slow them down. We can't risk it, not if we can do something to help." Prior to pursuing the Jonin, they had to make sure they stayed far enough behind to avoid being noticed or identified, but not too close to fall behind. With how quickly they were moving and the knowledge that they wouldn't be far from Takumi village, the retrieval team didn't take long to arrive in the land of rivers. Though they came to a stop in a sizable grassy plain before they could enter the village. Observing Ryugen at the opposite end, surrounded by 30 Takumi ninja, each of whom was brandishing an unusual looking weapon. As opposed to Ryugen's Garyan sword, the weapons appeared to be exact replicas of one another. Ryugen smirked and leaned on his triple-pronged blade. "It's about time you ninja showed up. I was getting bored and eager to kill whoever was sent to try getting that runt back." Kakashi narrowed his eyes at the Takumi ninja and said, "You knew the Hokage would send a team to retrieve the ninja you kidnapped, yet you still did it, anyway. Rather foolish, don't you think?" Ryugen grinned. "Yes, for you all, because none of you will be leaving here, alive. Even better that we'll be killing the renowned copy ninja, Kakashi Hitaki. With you all dead, the rest of the hidden villages will know what's coming for them," said Ryugen as he pointed his sword at them. A little taunting, Anko almost seemed insulted that they sent a runt to try and stop them, big talk coming from a half-pint, like you. Shouldn't you be playing with toys rather than weapons? Ryugen sneered at the Tokubetsu Jonin, and shouldn't you crawl back to the brothel to came from? Anko's eyes lit dangerously. Anko declared, planning to deal with Ryugen 1-on-1, "I'm gonna enjoy shoving that sword up your ass." Prior to any action being taken by either party, Satsuki and Hinata darted from their hiding place and joined the Jonin. To their dismay, they disregarded them, Kakashi, Yamato, and Kurenai most of all. "I seem to remember telling you two to stay in the village and that you weren't to follow us," Kakashi responded. With a nod of agreement from Hinata, Satsuki shot back, "Save the lectures for later, preferably after we deal with these wannabes. And don't even think of trying to tell us to stay out of the fight or go back, because we're not leaving." Recalling the copy ninja of their first lesson, Hinata continued, "Kakashi Sensei, we're not going to abandon Naruto-kun, Yugo Sensei, or any of you, not if we can help it. It's like you told us, those who break the rules are trash, but those who abandon their friends are worse than trash." The Jonin were shocked to see how committed they were to helping save their allies as they stared at them. It was impossible for Kakashi, Yamato, and Kurenai not to feel a great deal of pride for the girls. Kurenai thought, "Hinata, you really have grown, haven't you?" Realizing how much the shy, stuttering girl who couldn't hurt a fly had changed into a kunoichi who wouldn't think twice about getting into a fight to save her friends. "I'm proud to be helping Naruto, Satsuki, and Hinata develop into the amazing ninja he knows they'll become. All three of them, they're going to become amazing ninja one day," Yamato thought. Kakashi thought, knowing that both his own team and Naruto's parents would be pleased with how far these three have come in their commitment to one another, Minato Sensei, Obito, Rin, Kushina Senpai. You'd all be proud of them, that Naruto has such loyal comrades. Observing the look of pride and happiness Kakashi gave his students, Guy thought, "My eternal rival. Your flames of youth are truly burning brighter than ever before and have helped your students shine just as bright." He was happy that his rival had grown from the darkness he developed in Anbu. Recalling how he supported the effort to remove him from the Anbu after the Hokage and Danzo forbade him from enlisting because he lacked the necessary darkness for the tasks they carry out. Ryugen said, causing the ninja to narrow their eyes at them, yes, it's all so very touching. How about this, you all just stand there and let us kill you, that way you can die together. Kurenai, Anko, you two deal with him, He matches the description of one of the 4 celestial symbols men, so watch out for his sword and what it can do. Satsuki, Hinata, you two stay with them to deal with the remaining ninja. The rest of us will go on ahead to get Naruto. Kakashi said, and the rest of the kunoichi nodded. Asuma, Guy, Yamato, and Kakashi hurriedly rushed forward, leaping high above Ryugen and his supporters to continue forward. Before the ninja could attempt to interrupt the ceremony, Ryugen gave the order, stop them, and channeled chakra into his sword to unleash his dragons. His followers then took out their weapons to attack the ninja. Satsuki mockingly questioned, what's the matter, cowards? Are you afraid to face us yourselves? Which caused the Takumi ninja to stop and glare at the kunoichi. Furious at the insult, Ryugen demanded, what did you just say, runt? The ravenet just gave him a sly smile. Are you deaf as well as a has been? I guess you can add that along with you all being a bunch of hypocrites, too. You all talk so much about how you hate ninja, yet here you all are, wearing headbands like ninja, using chakra like ninja, ambushing enemies like ninja. Except you're not even real ninja, just a bunch of has been blacksmiths playing dress up and thinking a few fancy toys you created make you better. The only thing you're proving is who's really superior, and in case you're all so idiotic that you still can't figure it out yet, it's none of you, said Satsuki, her smirk growing at the pure rage on the Takumi ninjas' faces. Ryugen yelled, intending to kill Satsuki directly for insulting them and their weapons. Forget the others, they'll be dealt with, kill them, but no one touch the loudmouth, she's mine to finish. With the intention of further humiliating them by using her own weapon to kill them, Satsuki said, bring it. She pulled out her swords and transformed into their bow form. In partnership with Naruto, cyberspace. Soon after, though, Naruto discovered he was back in his mindscape and that it was the moonlit forest it had seemed to be when he had first encountered Zen Aku. The Uzumaki was taken aback when he suddenly materialized across from an unfamiliar person. Naruto asked, glancing at the stranger in his mindscape, who are you? They were a middle-aged, tall, lean man with a stoic demeanor. His skin tone was fair, he had prominent cheekbones, a beard, and long, unkempt black hair with brown undertones. Wearing a ragged white dress shirt with an upturned collar and cuffs, he wore low-heeled boots, black pants, and a long, amorphous black overcoat with a burgundy highlight that flares out into ragged ends. He also appeared to be moving constantly in an invisible wind, and his sunglasses were brown, tinted and semi-transparent. Naruto stared at the man in shock before realizing who he was. You know who I am, it is you who granted me a physical form. The one you created by your own hands and now seek to wield, to unleash onto your enemies. You know me and you know my name. The man said. You're Zanjetsu.
That's it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed this great story. See you in the next one.